What is up? I'm happy to, what day is it? Wednesday. I was going to say Tuesday for a second. Thank you all for being here at my Wednesday night Erik Ferentinos Unleashed. I do this every Wednesday. I've done it for 32 weeks, if you could believe that. And what is this? This is basically me just turning on the camera. You jump in the chat, ask me whatever you want about my career, my life. If you want to talk about your life, we could talk about your life. We could talk about history. We could talk about present times. We could talk about future times. We could talk about hypothetical things. We could talk about real things. It's totally up to you guys. Just throw it at me and I will riff on it. But if you don't know who I am, Erik Ferentinos, been the lead guitarist of Stephen Pearcy, the voice of RATT for the last 25 years. Known the guy for probably 40 years. And I've also played in some other bands as well, here and there. Some local bands in San Diego you probably wouldn't know unless you lived here. My first band was a band called Voodoo here in the 90s. And we did as good as you could do regionally. And then it just kind of fizzled out towards the end of the 90s. I was in another band called 13A, which was a heavy hardcore band. Both these bands have videos on YouTube you can check out. But 13A's No Digital, No Machine was like my 90s new metal period, right, of heavy stuff. And then since the early 2000s, I've been with Pearcy and really haven't done too much other stuff. Did a couple small stints, one in a band called Earshot, one in Bow Wow Wow. And most recently, I've been playing in a band called The Project with some members of Face to Face and No Use for a Name and some cool punk bands that some of you might be familiar with. And we've done some videos recently. Death of Me has been very well received. And there's a video called Hope. Best Days. Why do I keep forgetting the one we just did for some reason? But anyway, 4 videos I've done this year with those guys. I bring that up because this Friday, if you are in the Costa Mesa area, we're going to be playing the Tiki Bar there. And I don't have the thing to tell you what bands we're with. I know we're headlining it. But if you guys would like to come hang out with us and kick it with me, watch us play. It's a great band, all originals. And like I said, you can go on YouTube to The Project and you can check out 4 of the videos that I've been in just this year to get a whiff of what the band sounds like. It's a rock band. Some of the songs have a little bit of a punk edge to it, but it's all mainstream stuff that I think everybody would dig. And I just went and rehearsed with the guys I think it was Sunday, I believe. And great rehearsal. And I know the show's going to be awesome. So if you can make it, please go. Also got some Pearcy shows coming up, but I'll talk to you guys before those happen. And that's about it. I've been, here every Wednesday, just willing to talk about whatever you guys have. It's kind of like I don't really do interviews that much outside of this. I just kind of interview myself, basically, and all my split personalities and all that good stuff. But let me jump in here and say hi to you guys tonight. We got Warrior X was first on deck. Hey, Erik, I'm not sure if this is the same for you or others, but when I play guitar stoned, I make mistakes more. You? Yeah, I would say so. Sorry, there's a little fuzzy wuzzy on my camera there. Yeah, I would say I definitely chill out before the showtime. I don't smoke anything for at least an hour or 2 before I go on stage, because if I do right before I go on, for one thing, right when I hit the stage, I'll get super dry mouth and my lips will start sticking to my teeth and I'll look like Fire Marshal Bill, hey guys. And then I kind of forget where I'm at, or I start watching I'm watching TV or something. So that's not good. So I try to be fairly clear-headed when I get on stage. But typically, when I'm just kind of messing around and playing at home, if I'm looking to come up with ideas and things, I think it can help tap certain parts of your brain to be a little more creative, perhaps, but all in moderation, right? Some people can have a glass of wine and loosen up. Let's see here. Dale Groot Hope everyone is doing great tonight. Ready for the hangout. He's giving me the hang loose signs. Love it, love it. All right, we got Jay Krager here tonight, folks. I know he went and saw AC/DC last night. I do want to hear about this show from him. JC in the house. How you doing, buddy? AC/DC was lit. Brother, they ended with their song, For Those About to Rock. We salute you. At the end, the cannons went off and ended the show with fireworks. Oh, man. I mean, that sounds great. My tinnitus says, hell no, I don't want to be a part of that. But I'm glad that you enjoyed that. How loud was it, JC? I mean, did you bring earplugs? I remember back the original tour for Those About to Rock tour, I was hearing about a lot of people that were losing their hearing and suing the band and stuff back then, because they were, back then, I'd say AC/DC was probably one of the louder bands. Them, Led Zeppelin, some of those bands were pretty freaking loud back in the day, but you figure they're actually firing cannons off inside an arena. Or was this an outdoor gig? I know a lot of these AC/DC shows seem to be like amphitheaters and outdoor stuff. Datsun 200 SX. Jake Krager, glad you enjoyed the concert last night. Strangely, I've never seen them. The scheduling never seemed to work out. Never seen Iron Maiden either. I'm going to have to go with Datsun 200 SX. The same exact thing happened to me. Like, it's never come up that I either had the money at the time to go see AC/DC in Brian Johnson's heyday or whatever. As a struggling musician, you don't always have the money to go out. Concert tickets have just kind of gone up, up, up. And I can't say that I've really paid to go see any big band in recent years. As far as Iron Maiden, never got to really see them either. I remember as a teenager, all my friends were going to what album? I'm trying to remember what album it was. It was when we were like 15 years old. But they all were going, and I wanted to go, and it was one of those concerts my parents just weren't down with letting me go to. And I remember I had the Live After Death double Iron Maiden live album, and I was just kind of pathetic young teen. I like went into my room and turned off the lights and put on the record, and just like, I think I even pulled out a lighter, just like held it like I was at the show, but I wasn't. Just something stupid a 15-year-old would do. But yeah, I was super sad and depressed I didn't get to go to that show, because at that time, like from when I was about 15 to maybe 20, I feel like I went and saw every heavy metal show that happened pretty much in San Diego or at the clubs or whatever. So I was super bummed out back then. But yeah, I'd never seen either band. And now that all the bands are getting kind of old, I don't even know if I want to see them. I know Maiden seems like they're still putting on good shows. I probably wouldn't have gone and seen Alice Cooper and Judas Priest if I wasn't given hooked up with great seats and tickets and everything from a buddy. But I'm so glad I went, because Alice Cooper and Judas Priest were amazing. Both bands like sounded phenomenal, and they were both super entertaining to watch. And I had such an amazing time that there are still, those bands, classic bands that are putting on good shows for sure. So if any of you guys want to pay for a ticket for me to see Iron Maiden, I will go with you. Skylar's here. Good evening, everybody. They're stoked that you got to see the concert last night. Lee Ming's here, and he's making crazy face. And he likes to do the crazy face challenge. So if you're down with that, you could put a crazy face with whatever question in tribute to Lee Ming tonight. And my pal Jerome Davis, who's now the Leo. He used to love Disney, but now he's Jerome Davis, the Leo. And he says hi, and I say hi back. And let's see here. Skylar, Fright Bite 30 was a success. Another good time with our Fright Bite family. Yeah, the few and the proud. Last night we had a pretty good Fright Bite. It was our 30th episode. We were treating it like it was our 30th anniversary or something of the show, but it was, technically we're still in like the first 52 weeks of a year, right? But it seems like a long time for Dahlia and I, because there's so much effort goes into doing a podcast like that. It's so weird. And fun though. I do have to say, I totally screwed something up big time last night that right out of the gate I have to address. And it was true that Bailey gave us some great gifts, t-shirts, and gave me the bite down on it glass that I was drinking from last night. And I don't know how I messed this up, but Bailey's not the one that gave the vampire wine to me. It was Pentagon Larry. And I've known Pentagon Larry for like 20 something years. And it's so sad that I screwed that up last night. I'm going to blame it on the statins that I started back up on. Like those things, I think I'm going to stop taking them already again, because sure enough, like within 2 days of taking those, I'm totally losing my mind like right away. So anything that affects your brain that quickly, even on a low dosage, can't be good for you. But I'm going to blame it on that I totally was just like, Bert Perdue. I believed it in my mind. And when I totally know he's the one that gave it to me. And right after the show, Bailey's like, dude, Pentagon Larry gave you that, man. And God, I feel stupid. So I don't know if even Larry saw last night's show or not. But as I was watching, I was like, oh my God. I thanked Bailey for the wine like probably 20 or 30 times during the show. So that was a little stupid, but it was Pentagon Larry. So correction. But the show itself was fun. That's Edgar. Originally, Count Cracula thought Edgar was going to be a mermidget, but it ended up being a full-size merman that we've actually captured and taken back to Dr. Von Brainscan's lab before. And then last night, Boo TV News had a special, and I think he was seen. Oh, wait, let me do this.
Good evening, this is Siobhan O'Rang with the Boo TV Special News Report. Sightings of an unknown creature have been spotted globally. The creature is described as being quite tall and taking bags of food from grocery stores and tampering with them and then putting them back on the shelves. The following is an exclusive interview with a victim who has purchased an item unbeknownst to have been tampered with by the creature. Let's have a look. Good evening, this is Siobhan O'Rang with Boo TV.
Anyway, Edgar's got a thing for Temptations cat treats, shrimpy shrimp cat treats. I think I'm going to post that little Edgar grocery store scene on my Facebook tonight for a reel, because it's kind of funny. Normally I overdub stuff, but that crackling of the bag of cat treats is so distinct, right? I mean, I bet you just now, if you had the volume up on your TV, your cat came running in wondering where their treat's going to be, right? Anyways, good times. Yeah, that was an example of like a typical Fright Bite bit. Like yesterday morning, Dolly's like, hey, I uploaded some weather and news to we have like a shared Dropbox for stuff, and then she'll send me like the raw footage of her doing the news or whatever weather, right? And then I'll make it look like a real news thing and edit it up. And I was kind of listening to what she said. Even though I thought about doing the witness that she was talking about, I'm like, I got to do something with Edgar. So I pulled out the merman outfit real quick yesterday and just filmed that bit. And I'll tell you, that mask is a death trap. Like I forgot from when we were doing Curse of the Merman Fright Bite special that we did a month or two ago. I almost passed out with the mask on back from that bit, and I kind of forgot how bad it was. Just for that minute of like messing with the Temptations cat bag, the same thing almost happened. There's no hole in the mouth area. The only hole in that whole thing is two little nose holes. That's it on the whole mask. So when you put a rubber mask that's tied on your head like that, there's definitely a severe lack of oxygen going to you. I'm gonna have to like cut some holes in that. Li Ming loves the Fright Bites. Yes. Li Ming, more Ming neighborhood gossip coming up. Yeah, we get all the family gossip from the Minger and stuff going on in his neighborhood. He was out for his morning walk, and you won't believe who he run into. Dotson wants to know who'd you see on your walk. Tell us. Li Ming, the military guy with the skull cap and the ponytail and bald head, and his girlfriend, the trashy lady. Oh, man. Are they a menace to your neighborhood? Johnny Ponder's here, yo. Have a great show, brother. How did the JG mess up Pearcy DiMartini? That was basically when Jason was kind of moving up to, I guess, managing Stephen or calling himself the manager, and he had text messages back and forth, and I guess in regards to some business stuff in relation to that band, which after Jason was fired, he was like, geez, what could I find in our text messages of private messages of Jason to Steven that I could pull that would annoy Warren, like all that kind of thing, and found whatever, stuff he could get. And then he was already blocked, but he sent it to Rob Hoffman apparently. And then Rob made sure Steven got it because he wanted to strain relations. You know what I mean? It was just even after all he did, and after all the wealth that he absorbed from Pearcy, that's how we thanked him after all that. After getting caught for all his BS and getting fired, they turned around and still tried to hurt Steven any further, which was super sad. Anyways, Shoto, konnichiwa. Konnichiwa, Shoto. Li Ming's never walked so fast in his life. Are you scared of the bald guy with the ponytail? Whew. I had earbuds in, no music playing, so they don't talk to me, but can't believe what I heard. Oh, Stoney Jackson's here. He's fired it up tonight, boys. Let's go. Do it. Oh no, look who we got. Spicoli 420, fired up, rock star. Me and Stoney are
There's homeboys. Hey bud, let's party. I know that, dude.
What are you people? On dope?
As you can see, a few of these people are on dope. Logan Stoliker's here, everybody. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Yeah, Logan's still exciting RATT fans. Like, I still see his video of him playing with us. I think there's a reel of like he and I playing the round and round solo. They had a ton of views, like probably 100,000 views or something like that on Facebook and Instagram. And I still see random people going, who's this guy? Who's this younger guy in the picture? They know who the older guy is, but they ask who the younger guy is. And so I have to people have to link Logan's socials up on there and all that stuff. Stoney Jackson, my dude, Spicoli. Yeah, everybody's happy to see Logan in here tonight. Logan's done a lot of cool guitar videos and stuff. That's its own thing. I think the younger players are really comfortable doing that because it's kind of been that way their whole playing years of doing the TikTok-y kind of videos and stuff. I've, obviously, shit, I'm so old. We didn't even have the internet when I first started playing, but that's its own thing. And I mean, I'll tell you what's cool about Logan is, he does that kind of stuff well, but then on stage, he's really fantastic too. I mean, it's not for everybody. There's some people that are amazing musicians in the studio or home, and especially just sitting there and playing versus like putting on a show or an event, or maybe they feel more comfortable pre-recording things and putting it up versus having to be in a live situation. Maybe it stresses them out. And it's kind of awesome. I'm not talking about Logan in this pair. I'm just talking about a lot of the YouTubing guitar players out there and others, right? Singers and all kinds of different musicians. But it's awesome that there's that other avenue for them to show off their talents and make money. There's a lot of famous musician YouTubers out there that do some amazing content, and they probably never even have to really go out and play live. They just upload their stuff and get tens of thousands of people checking it out. And I think that's That's pretty awesome. One of the most entertaining YouTubers has to be that Steel Beans dude that plays the drums and plays guitar at the same time, and he has like a kind of 70s rock vibe to all his songs. But he's not only did he have all those cool videos that he did at home or whatever, but he's been out touring with like opening for Tool and bands, and that guy's the real deal as far as performing. I mean, he's almost like when you watch him play live at some of these shows, the drums sound even better for some reason when he's playing. But he's a pretty impressive musician all around, and he's funny as a person. So he's doing really good. He's also one of those guys that, like, when he first made it, part of his shtick was that he looked kind of out of shape. He almost looked like the original Bunny, Cheap Trick drummer or something. It's just like he looked kind of comical, and his belly would be hanging out, and he'd have his shirt. It kind of gave it some extra comedy to what he was doing. But probably for health reasons or whatever, the dude got serious, and now he's like trimmed down. He actually is a handsome guy. Like he's totally changed, but he's even made a video complaining that people want to see the fat guy again. That they don't like him as much now that he's skinny, and it kind of makes, I'm sure some creators get mad about that sort of thing. Drew Carey comes to mind. He was a comedian, of course, for a long time, and then what did they give him? The Price is Right or some show like that. And he got his eyes fixed. It didn't need the glasses anymore. So he took the glasses off. Everybody hated it. They're like, put your glasses back on right now. Like, how weird is that? Like, you get your eyes fixed, you can finally see. Now you got to put on fake glasses just because the fans demand that they liked the defective view more, which is weird, right? It's like a Twilight Zone episode or something. Spicoli, who has a better guitar collection, you or Pearcy? I would say probably me. He has a couple guitars that he loves, you know what I mean? But I definitely have more guitars than him. He's one of those guys that like will end up signing his guitars and selling them off or something like that. There's a couple that he's hung on to that he's a fan of. He has this Carina Explorer that I don't know if it's is it an Epiphone? I'm not sure. I'm forgetting, but it's not a Gibson, but it's like one. It's like an Explorer kind of guitar that you've seen him play it probably in some TikTok kind of videos. He's always held on to that one. He also has a Jackson Randy Rhoads V that he really likes a lot. And then I think anything else he has, he's willing to sign and sell it or something if he needs to, I have my share of guitars here, I guess. I got those Charvels. I got the 4 Charvels. I do have a Wayne Charvel guitar. And I, of course, want to take a minute to give condolences to the Charvel family, to Michael Charvel for the passing of his dad, Wayne Charvel, who kind of kicked it all off with Grover Jackson back in the early 80s, making some of the coolest super strats around that all our favorite guitar players were playing, from Eddie Van Halen to Warren DeMartini and George Lynch and Jakey Lee and all my favorite, West Coast dudes definitely were onto those guitars back then. And they were the kind of the first guitars made to do the over-the-top crazy 80s stuff that were just the sports cars of guitars back then. And they kind of lost a little bit of popularity, waned, I think, during the 90s. The company sold pretty early on, the Charvel company, and Wayne and his son Michael created Wayne guitars. And Michael had approached me at a Pearcy show. It was probably the early 2000s. I want to say probably like 2004 or something. At the time, I was playing my Les Paul. You've seen, I also had just like a Fender Telly that I was playing. It seemed kind of weird to be using those guitars playing the RATT stuff. He actually thought it was cool. I mean, Michael likes the rockabilly aesthetic and stuff, aside from his dad being the 80s rock, whatever. Michael likes all kinds of stuff, but he thought it was cool. And he actually offered to give me a deal on like a Wayne Telecaster, which I wish I busted it out tonight. It would be such a pain to get it out. You guys have probably seen it maybe in old pictures of me. It has the Universal Studios monsters on it. He wanted to try something different. He goes, hey, you know, one time Steve Vai made a guitar that had fabric in it instead of paint. And he's like, I always want to try something like that. And I went, okay. First, he suggested this fabric he had that was kind of like Roy Rogers or something kind of thing. And I was like, let me look for something. And I ended up settling on the Universal monsters, but it was like the cartoon kind of versions. I guess it would be similar to like Kirk Hammett. He has kind of something like that where he has some guitars that are like that. And this was probably around that time that he was doing stuff like that too, although I wasn't trying to copy him or anything. I think we simultaneously were doing that. But anyways, we got this fabric. I mailed it to him and he set it into the guitar and sealed it in there. And it's a really solid Telecaster in it, but it's cool because it does have like that Charvel kind of neck on it. That's like a really fast playing unfinished neck. If you know what unfinished, just no gloss paint or anything on it. Just that wood feel, that bare wood feel. And it was pretty cool guitar. It recently had needed some work a couple years ago, and I was like, man, I needed a new nut put in there, and I don't know what I screwed up, but I actually like kind of damaged it. I actually have to have that. I have to take that guitar to Val at Guitar Center and have him fix this nut on there because it would be cool to start playing it again. But as far as his passing, I know everybody was showing off their Charvel guitars. Not a lot of people have an actual Charvel from when he was in the company. Most of the ones now are either the Japanese ones or the company's been bought out. So it's like a different company making those, putting the Charvel name on them. But going through my feed, last week, I saw that he had passed away, and it's one of those where you stop and go, oh, it like totally pulled at my heartstrings a little bit. I was like, that is super sad. And so I, of course, want to take a minute to wish his family my condolences to Michael specifically. And that's it. Go check out Wayne Guitars because Michael still, runs that company, still making guitars there. WAYNE, WayneGuitars.com. All right, so let me get back in here. JC, no earplugs. Definitely the loudest concert. He's talking about AC/DC last night, and this was in Colorado. No earplugs. Definitely the loudest concert. Most packed. 65,000 people. Yeah, I wanted to take a second to address that. The numbers on these AC/DC concerts have been phenomenal. I don't know. And it's not like it was announced like it's the final tour. I mean, their advertising for it made it sound a little bit like that. They're like, we're gonna fire it up one more time. They didn't say one last time, but they go one more time. I mean, you could keep saying one more time. There's a difference between one more time and one last time. That's, I think. What do you think? But anyway, 65,000 people is pretty damn good. I'm sure there was a lot of free tickets given away, but that's pretty impressive. I know my super carrot Marcia said that AC/DC had played Ohio like maybe a week or two ago, and that was like crazy numbers too. And that's pretty awesome to see. I mean, that's not the case for a lot of 80s bands. Like, there's definitely a little bit of a struggle happening here. Like, it's had its ups and downs. The 90s was really bad. The beginning of the 2000s was kind of crappy, but then it started getting good from like 2005 till I'd say a couple years ago. Like, a lot of these bands were doing better today, touring wise and money wise, than they were probably back in the heyday. And certainly through the 90s and stuff. But like, suddenly it's starting to get a little, and a lot of it has to do with age. It's just something you can't escape. You know what I mean? Even though we'd all love to do this till we're 100, your health catches up with you and stuff happens. And after a while, there's no original people left anymore to keep it going, unless, of course, you license it out, right? I mean, a lot of the Motown bands, the Temptations comes to mind. I don't think there's been an original Temptations for 30 years, or more. But I don't think anybody going to see the Temptations at this point live anywhere is expecting to see somebody. I don't think they'd even be able to recognize it, because there's a point where people get so old that you just see a bunch of old men and you don't know who's who. It's like, I just see a bunch of old men. You've seen a lot of this like AI stuff that we all have. I saw something today that totally freaked me out. Like somebody was doing AI age progressions for some famous people, famous rock people from back in the 70s that have moved on to like regular jobs today. And it was the most bizarre, disappointing thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, it was like drummers for I was like the drummer for the Sex Pistols. It was like different people that it was like the 70s and they were part of these like, you know, edgy, big, cool bands and stuff back then. And then all of a sudden they're like, now he's the head of doctor at the ER. And he's like, he looks like just the oldest guy at the hospital. And you would just look at this guy and never guess in a million years that he ever played in a band or anything like that. And to me, that was weird. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And they did it to like, did you guys see that today? They did it to like maybe 6 different people that back in 1980 might have been in a band, or 78 or 9. I wish I had written down what all the bands were so you could go look this up, but all of them were completely unrecognizable in their future careers, which I'm sure their careers they went on to paid more than what they were making after their heyday ended. But it was just weird to see. I mean, compared to somebody like Stephen Pearcy, who's still throwing on his leather pants at 70 years old in his jacket and his glasses and walking out there. It's pretty cool, but like, that's how I would have done it. I don't know if I could totally just go full old guy, you know, and just become this totally other person in a career. I mean, that's weird, right? It happens. Eric, have you heard of the guitarist Ben Poole? Is that Uncle Ben? Because if it is, yes, Stoney. He's super good and a great teacher. Is that who you're talking about? Uncle Ben? Yeah, he's there's a couple channels that like for aspiring guitar players are you have like the best teachers in the country like at your fingertips, which is pretty insane. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot more to being a successful rock guitarist, you know what I mean, or being a successful one. There's so much involved with it, from of course how good are you on guitar to your image and your personality, how you get along with other people. You know, I mean, touring and stuff, the show part's a small part of it. You know, most of it's traveling. I think the people that are always good at are the ones that don't have much to lose. You know what I mean? Those ones will go balls out. I have noticed that people that come from wealthy families and stuff that get pushed into the scene and stuff, they end up going, man, this kind of sucks. I think I want to go back to my mansion and my Rolls Royce, or what, you know what I mean? Go back to daddy's house or whatever, because the truth is you really are kind of living like a homeless person. Maybe not totally homeless, but like somebody living out of their car. You know, people frown on that. They're like, ooh, that guy's parked over there living out of his car. Well, what do you think being a musician is? You know, you literally just took one suitcase of stuff and you're just driving and going to the next place and packing that suitcase and unpacking it. You know, it's pretty depressing sometimes. I mean, it's kind of mind over matter. You have to learn how to just kind of tune it out, especially the airports and all that crap. The show part's fun. I mean, that's fun and everything. I love it too. I mean, there's nothing like when the lights go down and you're about to hit the stage and you go out there and there's the crowd down to like when you've played the last note of the song and you're giving your final wave goodbye and you're leaving and they're screaming for more encores or whatever. That sound, you know, is something special that you can look back on if you're blessed to be able to do that sort of thing that I was like playing for Stephen, playing his hits, RATT hits or what have you. But I'll hold those memories dear to my heart. But certainly you can get to a point where you're just done with the traveling part. You almost want to like kind of parlay into maybe some other hustle because rock band, it's a hustle. In fact, not just rock, I would say even hip hop and stuff. It's always been a hustle. You're selling yourself. You're hustling just to sell records, sell T-shirts, sell whatever. Nobody hands you anything anymore. There's no. It's not like when I was a kid and we had in the '80s and the rock fantasy was, man, if we could just get signed, all our problems would be over. And that's just, I mean, getting a record deal is just the beginning. I mean, you don't even know if your record's gonna see the light of day. You could get shelved in most cases. You don't know if they're gonna pick up the option to put another record out. I mean, there's no guarantees, but the record business has changed immensely since back then. I feel like when I was a kid in the 80s, I was a little too young to have had a band in the 80s make it. I would have been in my tweens for most of it. But I felt like they were just handing record deals out to everybody. You know what I mean? Like if you looked the part, they were like, "Are you in a band?" And they're like, "No, we'll teach you how to play bass, and you'll be in a band now." And they would like, it just became all like aesthetic, you know. And maybe the players weren't as good, or in the studio they would have actual real studio guys playing in there, and then it wouldn't be the band you're seeing in the video. There was a lot of that going on, like older dudes recording the record and then younger looking dudes going out and kind of playing it. A lot of smoke and mirrors. But today, all the development, all the smoke and mirrors, like a lot of that's gone now. You know what I mean? It's like, I think they're expecting, if they're going to get involved with an artist, it's probably one that's done a lot on his own already. Like already has like a big YouTube following, or does pretty well touring on their own. And that's somebody that they might risk getting involved with at this point. But at least the tools are there, you know, so that if you are an independent musician, there's nothing you can't do, right? I mean, you don't have to wait for somebody to invest in you to make a music video. You got an iPhone, you can film your band. Shoot, like I said, the project, look up, we did 4 videos. One day we did 2 videos in one day. We played a concert and shot a video while we were playing that concert. And they look great. Dennis Hill helped, his daughter Michael helped. It came out all the videos look pretty damn good, you know, and they were totally done independently with the band. They look legit. They look better than a lot of the videos back when from the 70s and 80s that we used to see. So it's all there now with AI. Forget about it. You could probably make insane videos for not much, but nobody's going to come in and rescue you. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to like come in and pay you a bunch of money and put you on a big salary to go around and tour. No, you'd have to like do it all yourself at this point. And it's hard to do, but at least like I was saying earlier, that there is YouTube and these TikTok and these places musicians can be seen in other ways. We've seen it recently where let's see, Arnel Pineda, he was one of the first guys, and also the Home Depot, the Boston singer that just passed away. Tony, was that his name? Oh, I'm messing up now. What was the guy that just passed away in Boston? That was he was a guy that they saw doing covers on YouTube. Same with Arnel, except Arnel was in like the Philippines or something, putting up videos on YouTube from there. And Neil Sean was showing the video and ended up calling up Arnel, and the rest is history. And same with some of these other bands. They kind of discover these singers that can nail the voice or whatever on YouTube. I think that's pretty awesome. Spicoli, are you ready to tour the new album? What is your process for getting ready for a tour, Rockstar? I am getting ready to tour the album, I'd say, is getting mixed right now. Like Matt Thorne has been sending us mixes pretty much every weekday this past week, and that's been pretty cool. Like he'll send us a mix that he worked on all day, and then usually the next day on fresh ears he'll make a couple last changes and go, okay, no, this is the final mix. And I mean, it all sounds pretty phenomenal. There's a couple songs that I really, really love. I've shared a couple with a few friends. I know my Super Carrot Marsha, I let check out a song. I let Tris Mahaffey, that makes the Mahaffey amps, I think I let him check it out. I let Dennis Hill hear it. I let Jimmy from Project hear a song. So like I said, only just like a handful, just some people in my life that they could just see that this thing is going to be super awesome. And just so they know that their friend isn't on YouTube just lying to everybody. No, but let me see here. Oh, and back to your question though, my process getting ready. Okay, so we have shows coming up. So about the week of the shows coming up for Pearcy, first thing I do is make sure that all my equipment's going to be working for the gig. So I got to make sure the guitar I'm taking or the guitars I'm taking are all dialed in and ready to go. New strings stretched out, all that stuff, all set up correctly, intonated. Then from there, I got to make sure I know what I got to play. Some of these songs I've been playing for like 25 years, and I don't really have to think about it that much. Anything that's difficult that I got to do in the set, I make sure I practice that. A couple of the things that I can screw up are like double solos where you're playing with somebody else and you guys have to harmonize together. Like I want to make sure I got those, because if you screw that up, it could be a total train wreck. So that stuff I kind of go over. I would say most of the rhythms to all the songs in Stephen's set, I don't have to really spend too much time on because it's just muscle memory. For the show Friday, I've been playing with the project for about a year, so I will go over the whole set with them. Here I have all the MP3s lined up. So the show's Friday, so I would say maybe tonight I'm going to start going over them again. I'll spend tomorrow a couple hours playing those songs. I'll change my strings, stretch it out the day of the show. I think sound checks at like 6 p.m. So I still have all day's show to make sure I'm ready, get all my stuff, head up. I think I don't know what time we go on. I would imagine you guys should get there by 8:00 or something to see the show if you're going. And I hope you do go. If you didn't hear earlier, playing with the project, Costa Mesa. So this is alert out to my homies in the SoCal area. If you're anywhere near Costa Mesa, head out this Friday to watch me play with the project, and then let's hang out after. Let me see here. Jay Krager, I'll send you some of the pictures, brother. Yeah, definitely. I want to see the good time you had. JC was at AC/DC last night in Denver, right? Johnny Ponder. I was watching the Sight, Sounds, and Flavors channel earlier. Cool show. Yeah, I think that's Christian Duke, a lawyer from Louisville, Kentucky, and he's got into YouTubing. I think he's done some stuff in the past, but this is a fairly new channel, so definitely head over to Sight, Sounds, Flavors, and he does all kinds of stuff. I mean, he does, restaurant reviews. I think he does health stuff and workout type things, or weightlifting, like weightlifting stuff. And then he also does some music stuff too, and he's weighed in on different things that I'm associated with, as you can imagine. So anyways, you can head over there and see his insights and, give him a sub to his channel and check out his videos, give him a like. If you have a question for the guy, go in there and write him a comment, or if you liked his video, comment on it. And so he can pick up some views, but his latest videos are doing really good. So congratulations to Christian there. We got Mickey Hernandez, yo, EF. What's happening, Mickey? Yeah. Mickey used to come to my old butthole apartment. He knows when you hear me talk about the butthole apartment that I was living in before I lived at the beach. Mickey will vouch for that. He was there back when I even smoked cigarettes and stuff. It must have been pretty rough. I would take their band and help them do a demo, really, so I could get some more gigs and stuff and help get their songs together without breaking the bank. You know what I mean? When you got a new band and you're young dudes and it's like, you might not know how to do all the, computer recording and so the whole band would kind of come down south to my butthole apartment, and we'd sit there and work up their songs and everything. And they had a good time. They went and played the Whiskey and stuff like that. And I think the band just kind of like a lot of bands, after a couple of years, it's tough when you're doing local bands to kind of hold it all together. You know, you do what you can, but some people just go different directions, get different jobs, maybe to do other music projects. But I know he still plays bass and sings, and he'll probably do more stuff again. Right, Mickey? Come on, man. Li Ming Incorporated. Anyways, trashy older lady will be sitting on her phone, and then out of nowhere, she'll look up at the sky when nothing's in the sky. No bird, no plane, no nothing. And she'll stare up at the sky and smile. Does she stare? Does she look into the sun for a long time? Li Ming, military mullet guy's girlfriend. Oh, I see. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy people out there. I don't know if Li Ming's ever divulged what part of the country Li Ming lives, but I'll tell you, I live in Southern California, and I know probably most of you don't live here that are watching, but it's as crazy as you've heard. Just as far as the craziness here. I mean, it is a beautiful state, though. I do love it. I would never want to leave here. Like, if I had to leave California, it would be, God, I can't imagine the circumstances that I would have to leave here, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just too acclimated to it to leave. Like, I'll always feel like I left a better place. And not everyone would feel that way. I mean, if you grew up near a swamp, that would feel like that's your home, you know? And I've lived here for just too damn long. I mean, I moved here when I was 9 from New Jersey, and I'm 53, dude. I mean, that's pretty much a California guy at this point. Okay. This is so much better than the JG Wednesday night. Well, hey, I'm glad you think so. I'm very glad you think so. And I think you made the right choice. And you'll see. Spicoli, did Hoekstra talk about being on the new Accept album last time you talked to him? I know Spicoli wants to know. And honestly, I haven't talked to Joel. we're obviously, you know, we follow each other on Instagram and our friends on Facebook and everything. And one thing I want to say about Joel, like, this guy's friends with like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and all these huge people that were like mega stars when I was a kid and are still very well known. And Joel's still the kind of guy who, like, if I post something, it could even be the Fright Bite, he'll like it. You know what I mean? Like, he's a very, very soulful, supportive guy of people in the arts. You know what I mean? So that's super cool of him, and I definitely appreciate that. But I will not see him probably until we go play. But Spicoli, please remind me about the Accept thing, and I will actually film him talking about it for you. I promise you. Just remind me that day when you know that I'm out on these shows. I think we're going to Connecticut and Rhode Island coming up, and I'm going to do road vlogs for those 2 shows. So if you guys got questions for the guys, let's get them together. I'll film those guys answering the questions for you, whether it's Matt or Steven or Blas Elias or Joel Hoekstra. If you guys got questions, I'll try to get a video answer from them out there. We'll just have to start getting our questions for these guys together. Okay, Jojo. Hey, Eric, ever met Tommy Lee or any of the other crew members? Well, I've certainly know Vince. That's the guy I probably know the most. And Steven's played solo shows with Vince going back, you know, before I was even in the band. I think Voices of Metal tour in like 2000 or 1999 was this Pearcy Vince Neil run, I believe, with Vixen. And I joined the band like the following year. We had done some one-offs with Vince. And then recently, I guess 2025, Bret Michaels, Vince Neil, Stephen Pearcy, we did like 2 weeks worth of shows. So certainly him. I've seen Tommy. I've seen him at the Whiskey, just kind of hanging, like just making the rounds, you know. I'm sure guys like Tommy don't stand in one place for a long time. When you hit that level of fame, I think you got to keep moving, or people are going to come in and get the courage to come ask for a photo. So he just kind of was like, hey, and just kind of bing, 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 like a pinball machine. He was just like, da, 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 but that was his. He was right there, though. I mean, he was literally, I could smell him. No, I couldn't smell him. He didn't smell or My homie James Galetti. What's up, Eric? Hope you're doing good. I just saw Tomahawk, which is Mike Patton's band, and Melvin's show at Philly. Saw King Buzzo himself, Buzz Osborne, before the show. We're laughing thinking about Dr. Von Brainscan. Yeah, King Buzzo and Dr. Von Brainscan certainly have a similar look, like scary. It's scary similar. I didn't realize it till it was like I was posting some Dr. Von Brainscan thing, and then Buzz Osborne happened to be in the news, and they literally had the same glasses and white curly hair, and it was interesting. But James here is somebody I said I moved here when I was 9. He was probably like 4 or 5, and James and his mom and his brother, dad lived. Our backyards kind of faced each other back in Belmead, New Jersey, which is it was a cool kind of farm town back then. But he's somebody who's known me a really, really long time. The resemblance is strong. Spicoli 420. Yeah, Logan is a rock star, dude. He is doing really good. He's got so much time ahead, right? I mean, I like it. I'm not envious really of young people in general, but it's cool when you see somebody who's like prepared themselves for what's ahead, as far as skill wise and taking care of themselves, and that they're increasing their chances of success that way. So I think definitely he'll do good. Another great guitar player, Austin Ingerman, is a great guitarist from the band Gunshine. Are you familiar with them? They're pretty awesome. Like the singer almost has like a Mark Slaughter meets Axl Rose kind of vibe to his voice. And these guys are young. They're not little kids, but they're pretty young still. I don't know what age they are. They're late 20s, early 30s or something like that. But they're super good. And Logan's an awesome guitar player. Austin's a really fierce, like lefty guitar player. He's like got an SG, and he's like super technical, but he also you could tell he grew up listening to Guns N' Roses too, so he knows how to be a little bluesy, but then he puts some special skills into it too. You have to check out Gunshine and listen to this guy's solos, but there is a song that he actually played lead on the Pearcy record. There was a couple guest guitar players that mostly played on like Stephen had like 4 songs he wrote, four songs I think on the record, and I know Joel Hoekstra played on one, Doug Aldrich played on one, Austin Ingerman played I think it's the song Drive. If you hear that song Drive that Stephen did, Austin's the guy playing the solo. I heard a lot of people like, that's so and so, or they thought they knew what guitar player it was, but it's it's the kid from Gunshine. He's like super good. And both Logan and Austin are both young guitar players that I was like, oh, just keep doing what you're doing and don't worry, it's gonna work out for you. You could just tell. So Stoney Jackson, live interviews are the best. Yep. I just interview myself. It's not meant to be egotistical or anything, but it's like, I just want people to know that there's a platform that I have, that if there's anything going on, I'm right here to address it if necessary, and that's how this really started. I mean, I've always been a pretty private guy for the most part. And for the 25 years I played for Stephen, I wasn't doing anything like this. I did very few interviews. I did some for the Classic Metal Show, and I had a fun time doing that. Chris Aiken was looking to branch out and do a Chris Aiken podcast for YouTube, and he thought of me, and so he asked me 3 years ago to be his co-host, and I said, what the heck? I went and did it, and it was fun. It was fun to kind of do a little stand-up comedy, to weigh in on some things, and be part of building an audience or what have you. And it was a good way to cut my teeth in that capacity. I'd say when I first started, I wasn't that great at it, and I've learned a lot in that couple of years. Chris is, focusing on some other things. He's back with Seth. We're happy to see Seth's show is back, and he got some legs now, so he can walk, which is fantastic. I'm super stoked to see Seth on some feet, and the classic metal show is doing really good. Like on Rumble, I don't know if you guys know that it's on Rumble. I hope you do. But if you go to Rumble, you can watch Classic Metal Show, Chris Aiken and Neely. And their shows like picking up again. I checked on it, and some of these episodes are getting a few thousand clicks, and they're talking about, fun stuff. And it's good. I used to always listen to the Classic Metal Show. I always thought Neely and Chris just seemed like two pals, you know what I mean, that you would be at the bar drinking with and shooting the crap. And especially like during the pandemic and stuff, I remember I would have the Classic Metal Show on and would listen to it for hours while I was just doing stuff around the house. And so it was cool to work with Chris. And when he ended the show like late last year, I go, you know what, I'm going to do this. I fired up the Unleashed channel and started doing road videos, started doing weekly live AMAs, and of course brought the Fright Bite to the channel, which some people get it, some don't. That's okay. But Tuesdays is the Fright Bite at 6 p.m. and then Wednesdays I'm right here, and I've had a great time with all of you. It's so cool to see some of the same faces coming back and contributing to the chat and becoming friends yourselves. Like a lot of you guys have become friends outside of this chat room, which is super cool. Like to know that whatever the initial circumstances were that I came in here, it's turned into something positive. Friendships have been made. I've got to air out some stuff so you guys can hear my side of things, which is good and cathartic for me in a lot of ways. And I've even joked that in some capacity, this has been like therapy for me. Like if you see that there's a 3 or 4 hour show I did, I was probably in a huff about something, and it was probably good I got it out and talked to you guys about it, and then I can move on. I don't know how late I'll be going tonight. It'll depend on how many questions you guys got. All right, Danny Trower's here tonight, folks. Is there any RATT songs you would want to play live, but Steven says nah, bro? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, he does have, with the RATT catalog alone, they have a ton of awesome songs. And man, I would play for 4 hours and do them all. I think that as Steven is right now, there's songs that he just has that muscle memory, like the Wanted Mans and I'm Insanes and Slip of the Lips and the Ugly Three, and those songs that no matter what the circumstances he's in, he could go up and do those songs. When we start trying to do like deep cuts, I think I would require a little more work or a teleprompter or something, you know what I mean? Even for us, it's like it's a little bit of an undertaking. I know what was it, 2024, we did a lot of the Out of the Cellar record in its entirety. And even though I've been playing in Steven's band forever, we played like half the album probably in Steven's solo set, but there was some other songs on there I had never learned or anything. So all of a sudden it was like, got to learn this stuff. The hardest one I had to learn on the fly was the unreleased RATT track. Have you guys heard Reach for the Sky? It was the unreleased track that was supposed to be on Out of the Cellar, which is a trip because the song is phenomenal. If you haven't heard it, it's super good. And you can tell it's like from that era that they were recording or that session. It's got the sound of the Out of the Cellar record. I don't know why it didn't go on there. It doesn't make any sense because it's really good. I don't know if it's because it has almost a little bit of an Iron Maiden vibe where the rest of the RATT record totally sounded like quintessential RATT, where maybe Reach for the Sky, the way it kind of had that, not gallop, but and like had the harmony guitars. It kind of had those Iron Maiden-y harmony stuff going on. I'm just speculating on why the producer or whatever the records went, this one's not going on there, like, and how no one heard it all this time. is really bizarre because these guys, you would think, I honestly, I think Atlantic Records had it or something. I think it was literally in a vault somewhere. And because 40 years had gone by, they were able to go, okay, we can open the time capsule. And like this amazing song came out. And Steven's like, we're going to play it. And I was like, oh my God, because we never rehearse. And we just went for it. And it was a struggle. Like I definitely, I don't even know if I ever pulled it off live perfectly ever once, you know, but that's just how it goes. I mean, that's also the expectations as a guitarist that'll be put on you when you get into a professional situation. Like it seems like the older the band is, the less chance there's probably going to be rehearsals involved. The most rehearsing I ever did in my life was when I was in a local band that hardly ever played. And we would like rehearse 4 or 5 nights a week. It was almost like a partying hangout with college age drinking buddies was what rehearsals were back then when you're in a local band or a regional band. But once I got like into Steven's band, rehearsals were like a thing of the past. Like unless there's a new like drummer or something important, like you want to probably do a rehearsal with the drummer just to make sure they know what they're doing for sure. But these would be like maybe one rehearsal with the new lineup, and then we're off to the races. Like the shows become the rehearsal. I know I never really answered your question of like what song I was saying that he didn't want to play. It's just too tough. I'd have to like look at all their records right now to even think about it. Okay, Logan's got a big thing he wrote. I'm going to read it. To be totally honest, I really don't like doing the social media content, but it's something you got to do nowadays. I'd rather just spend all my time rocking on stage, writing and recording music. Yeah, well, you heard it straight from the kid. Logan is in Nashville. He's Logan, your main band is called Love Drive. Is that correct? That's, I believe, is that your original band? And they play around, but Logan's like hardcore. He plays. I asked him, he says he plays like 5-6 nights a week live. And that's the case for, I would say, a ton of Nashville musicians. Like there's a whole, they have their own Broadway thing too there, not like New York Broadway, but there's a Broadway in Nashville that has a lot of live music. I didn't even ask Logan exactly what circuit he's doing, but he's always doing gigs all the time, which is, that's the best rehearsal practice there is, because you're getting all that stage time practice. But he's right. I mean, there's no getting around it that you're expected to do those guitar videos and stuff. I'm dreading it. I know I have to start doing that stuff. The biggest thing people do is Logan plays for real in his. I know that, but there's a lot of players that they pre-record everything and then they mime to it. I would say most of what you see on guitar videos and singing videos, that's totally what's happening here. They've pre-recorded it, and now they've set up the camera in a really flattering way. And they're sitting there, and they got the microphone right set up, and they're looking at you, but they're miming it, because the truth is, like, when you just take your phone and you put it right here, it's going to sound like poo poo caca. Like, especially if you're really laying into it on the vocals, that's going to be way louder than the music you hear. Like, you're just not going to get a good mix off that phone. And the same thing happens for me when I go, well, maybe I'll film myself doing this. And honestly, just the quality's not so much there. I could totally tell when I'm watching somebody else that's doing that. And certainly there's been some huge name guitarists that do that. Who's the blues dude that was a young guy that made it? And he's he looks kind of fuddy-duddy. He's got the glasses and the hair, but he's a really ripper blues guitarist. He has all those Gibsons and everything. See, those statins are screwing me up. Now I can't remember anybody. He's a guy who'll sit there and just throw on the camera and play live. Neil Sean is a guy I'll just turn it on and just while he's doodling. And I mean, you can tell when you're listening to a guy that's actually playing. Like, the guitar tone, no matter how great their tone is, it'll just sound a little off or something on the phone, and you can kind of tell. But I got to just get over it and just start doing it. So that's definitely on the to-do list, and it's really important for me to do, just to grow this channel, because I'll tell you, nobody big is coming here drawing traffic to here. Nobody's like no magazines are writing articles about the Erik Ferentinos Unleashed channel and sending people my way. You know what I mean? There's no, hey, this guy's a rockin' fright biter. You know, there's none of that. So it's pretty much all just word of mouth. It's you guys sharing my videos on Facebook and social media, liking it on YouTube, and making sure you're subbed up and all that. I try to give you guys a little bit of everything. You're going to see live music. You're going to see, those road vlogs. You're going to get the Fright Bite, and then you get the Hangouts where we just talk about whatever. And that's what we're doing here tonight. So welcome if it's your first time. Spicoli loves Logan, throws him a bunch of devil horns. Johnny Ponder, Logan and John Tora could form a cool band, in my opinion. Yeah, that's been big news. The John Tora, definitely. He's somebody who's really good at that. Like, he's perfect for doing the TikTok-y YouTube sing-along stuff. Absolutely perfect for that. There's just like a whole generation of young people that are in their 20s that, whether it's guitar players like Logan that can nail the 80s stuff, there's also a lot of singers that can do the 80s voices. You know how it is now. Once you look at one thing, that's all they send you on your phone. Like, I was certainly seeing the John Tora stuff, and he's definitely brilliant at doing the different voices. He does a great Kiefer, did pretty good Vince Neil, does a fantastic Quiet Riot, right? And that's perfect for doing these videos, because he could do that for, he could probably at least make 60 to 100 videos just off those bands' catalogs, right? Now, when you're doing stuff like that, it's not all, easy money, because when you post that sing along to YouTube, that song belongs to Cinderella, or that song belongs to Quiet Riot, or whatever band you're doing. So hopefully, if you're singing over it or doing something, they'll let you split the revenue. And as a creator, I know how that looks on my machine. There's been some times where we were playing live and RATT gets a piece of it. Like, oh, you played Lay It Down here, and Stephen gets a Round and Round always gets noticed by the algorithms. That's Round and Round. Like, soon as Stephen starts singing, it knows it's Round and Round. The solo even gets recognized because it's maybe melodic, the double solo. So you end up like not making as much money. A lot of these like huge YouTubers aren't necessarily making a ton off the video itself. However, it does get a lot of new subscribers. You know what I mean? When they see that, they're like, hey, I'm entertained by this. I like seeing a young person that can actually sing like my favorite singer from 40 years ago. This is very cool. And there's a market for it, So yeah, like, I think it's super cool for the Tora kid, and there's a lot more. Like, he's not the only one that could do the Cinderella voice, at least, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I watched him, and then all of a sudden these other young people popped up. Like, there was some dude in Nashville that was doing Cinderella, and he kind of looked like a young, like, Cliff Burton or something. But he was playing the guitar parts for Gypsy Road. He was literally playing Jeff LaBar, rest in peace, his guitar parts, and singing Kiefer's part, which Kiefer plays guitar and sings at the same time. But anyways, he was playing the song, singing it, sounded exactly like Kiefer. And this dude looked like he was about 23, maybe 22 or 23. And so they're out there, I mean, they're almost like parrots, you know what I mean? Like, some of you might have an African gray parrot or something like that, you know what I mean? Where they could copy a voice. They could copy a voice, it's just a mockingbird gift that some people have. a lot of them will have their actual true voice, that is their kind of natural voice, and sometimes that's not as iconic as the ones that they can emulate. As far as being picked to be in the actual band that they're doing the cover of, that is where it gets a little more complex depending on what the band's going for. If the band, in my opinion, is looking to continue doing new music or something, they might pick somebody that has a little bit of their own thing going on too. If they've hit the point of just being a completely nostalgia act, in my opinion, I think that would be probably a better chance that they were going to get somebody who sounds just like the original guy. I feel like STP kind of did that. Like the guy they have kind of is similar look a little bit to like maybe when Scott Weiland first hit the scene in STP. Not when he got like really skinny and, no, I don't want to say weirded out, but he kind of went like Scott Weiland went into his Bowie phase like a couple of years in, and he kind of looked and acted a little different than he did when Core came out. When the first Core came out, he looked more like Orange County, California. He was just kind of more like just punk rock. He was actually a little pudgy. If you see early pictures of Scott Weiland, they kind of trimmed up a bit, and then he kind of like changed his look by like the second or third record. He just looked a lot different than he did it at first. But I'm forgetting the kid singing for them now, but he kind of looks like an early version of Scott, and he does the voice pretty close. You know what I mean? And so they're able to now, do the fair circuit and all that. Alice in Chains, I remember when they were finally going to come back out. That was when I was still kind of going to see some concerts and stuff. And of course, I'm being 53. Of course, I loved Alice in Chains. I was 18 or whatever 17 when they came out, and totally loved their music all through the 90s. And it was super, super sad when Lane Staley died. So when they were making their comeback, I definitely wanted to go see it. And I remember they were playing the Del Mar Fair, and I went to see it there. And I had such, I guess, high expectations or something, but the dude could totally sing that they have, but there was just something that was not the same for me. And he didn't sound exactly like Lane. And I know why, because it's the other reason I said they were going to be putting out other music, and they wanted to do something a little bit different. And his voice does work in there with the harmonies and everything they do. And I can appreciate it maybe now a little bit more now, listening to some of their songs with him. But at the time, I was so emotionally invested in the Lane Staley and the band itself that it was just too much of a departure for me to like, I'm just trying to be honest about it. I mean, I love the band and the catalog and everything. It's just the way it is. Speaking of Super Carrots, got Marsha B here tonight, and she's saying hello to everyone. She's got a tuna fund here for Charlie and Kylie. It's a good day. The dragon was found. Mental thought. Try not to lose your bearded dragon at your job. Yes, Marsha has so many cool pets, but one of them's a bearded dragon, and she has the coolest like photos of this dragon. Around the holidays, she'll dress this dragon up as Santa Claus. She'll put this dragon on a little miniature Harley Davidson, and it puts its little dragon hands on the handlebars, and it's pretty dope. But yeah, Marsha here, super cool friend of mine. She's always at the Fright Bites and the Hangouts and everything, and huge supporter of 80s rock. She loves Bret Michaels and Poison. She loves RATT, and she's old school rocker chick, and she's a good friend. So definitely, if you're a regular here, friend her up, and you won't be disappointed. Let me see here. Kevin Smith's here at Erik Ferentinos. No Chris or Neely. Hey, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't ask Neely. I could have. I did ask Chris Aiken if he wanted to come on the show tonight, and he declined. He said he had a dinner date. I don't know what to say. That was the excuse he handed me. Now, He did say this week's a no-go. I have a dinner date. And I don't, when he said this week, I don't know if that meant next week. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but he is not here tonight. And I know people always ask about Matt. Matt's his studio sessions that he does. Usually Matt, he does get up. He's early to rise, right? He's a health guy, gets up, he works out, takes care of stuff around the house, gets in the studio, probably starts his sessions around 10 a.m. I think, or something, 9-10 a.m. And he does like 10-12 hour sessions, you know, in there. So most of the time around the time we do these, he's like in his studio working. But what I decided to do is, I think as we get closer to Stephen's record coming out, like around the time that, you know, we start releasing some singles off it and everything, then we could have Matt on to, you know, promote the album and stuff. So it'll be soon, but that's why you haven't seen him. I know everybody's asking for the guy. I'm totally going to tell him about it. Hey, Spicoli, I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, Logan's stoked that you guys dig him so much, for sure. Spicoli's saying, Molly and Kiss keep saying every tour is their last tour, dude. Yeah, they do keep saying that. I mean, it is good to get people out one last time, but I mean, it's like the band that cried wolf, right? After a while, they're gonna be like, oh, I've heard that before, and then, you know, it could start waning. Somebody I saw recently said sometimes you should retire before you get retired. And basically what they were saying is, once the people stop showing up, that's when you should probably call it in, because eventually they're just not going to book you anymore anyway. You know what I mean? You're not worth the money you want, you know, and you're probably not going to take a pittance of what you used to, you know what I mean? And that's probably when they finally decide to call it quits. Brooke, how you doing tonight? Don't know if this has been brought up, but did you see and hear the terrible Johnny M. You're the Rat crap? I heard about 30 seconds of it. Yeah, it was offensive to me. I had made a post on my Facebook where I actually posted a clip of a song called I'm a Rat, which was the single off View to a Thrill. And the lyrics originally, that song was called Year of the Rat when I wrote it for Stephen. And when I say write a song, typically I mean like compose the music aspect of it, and then I'll like put a working title on it. So this was like what, 2016 or 7, I think, no, excuse me, around 2017, where I probably would have sent him this. And so 2017 I sent him the track, and it was called You're the Rat, and Stephen changed it to I'm a Rat. And I was like, okay. But then while we were in the studio, Matt and I, we were like helping him with some of the lyrics and stuff, and we got to that second chorus, and I really wanted to use the Year of the Rat, so I got him to use it. So like if you go and listen to that song, you can see that we did use that already. So as far as the fact of it being clever or not, like we already been there, done that. And the fact that, you know, I've been talking so much about the new album, I just felt that he was trying to undermine that, and I thought it was cheap that he was like putting RATT in the title and stuff to try to clickbait people into to hearing it. Just seemed lame, and he doesn't even have a right to do that. He's coming up on 1 year since he's been fired from this band, so it's sad when he does stuff like that. But when it comes to him, he'll do anything for attention, and he doesn't care if it's bad or good. So I kind of don't want to spend too much time even talking about it. But as I said, you guys can ask me whatever you want, and I was serious about it. I did not listen to his whole thing. No, I heard enough. I was like, I saw that name, and it was the name of it that freaked me out the most. It wasn't the music part of it. It was the name where I went, I almost went, that's my song. Like, I don't know. I just felt kind of ripped off on it. And of course, I think I showed Steven. I'm like, is he allowed to put Rat? And he's all, hell no, he's not. And like, I think Steven immediately was trying to get it taken down. But again, Steven's old, so he doesn't know whether to do like a trademark or a copyright. He's like, it's a whole thing. He definitely tried to get that down. We don't want to be associated with those guys at all. So it was just him trolling us because he's a troll. That's about it. Stoney Jackson, no, Uncle Ben. It's not Uncle Ben that you're talking about, Ben Poole. I will check out Ben Poole if that's not him. Vault Keeper, got new people in here tonight. Does Shannon Larkin give online drum lessons? That's a good question. I really don't know if he does. I mean, he didn't do the Godsmack tour, so he's home. That is something he might do. That's, again, the world we're living in. Sometimes people give online lessons. Joel Hoekstra gives lessons. He has like, God, what's he telling me? He's got 25 solid students, per week. 25 students a week he's teaching. That's a lot. That's a lot. I think a lot of these shredders that you see on YouTube give private one-on-ones to I would imagine, you'd have to be advanced players, intermediate to advanced players and stuff. But Joel's definitely one of those guys too that the fans could hit up and potentially take lessons. I don't know about the Shannon Larkin thing. Ballkeeper also says, hey, Eric, have you used AI for music production lately? What's your take on AI for music? No, I certainly didn't use any of it for the Stephen Pearcy record at all. All those songs were just written by me. The only tool that I've used if I'm recording stuff is like drums. They have like AI drums they've had available for a good amount of time, like even in GarageBand or Logic Pro or whatever. And if like I was to come up with a riff and might not have like a total idea what beat to do, you could use these like robot drummers or whatever that they have them for like whatever style of music you're doing. Like they'll have a metal drummer, a rock drummer, a whatever drummer, jazz drummer, roots rock or whatever. And the guy will like ballpark drums according to the tempo of the song. And you could even say, you could hit a button to say like, look at the riff I'm playing, like actually see what my little moves are and kind of make your beat go to that. I don't think and so when I give a song, I might have ballparked it with the drums. The drums, when I do that, never are exactly the way I want. So I still end up having to go in and kind of move stuff. It can save me a little bit of time because let's face it, your typical rock songs like a 4 on the floor. I mean, I could sit there doing that, you know what I mean? But if like it's a rock beat, and another thing I'll say is the drums have nothing to do with the song publishing or writing on there. Like the drums, that's why the drummer never gets paid unless you're just gonna be a bro and let the drummer have a piece of the song. The drummer usually doesn't get anything. Like the drums don't mean anything with the song. It's all about the lyrics and the melody that constitute the song, and I guess the music notes or whatever in there, the melody of the music itself. But as far as like that's the extent of any AI. And then even though I might have used it for some sections for percussion, because I'm not a drummer, right? When we go in, like for example, for this record, then real drummers come in and actually play over the song. And in some cases, they do it different than even the drums that I had. Sometimes they kind of do something like what I had. We had Blas Elias plays on some of the drums on some of the songs here. Jimmy Deanda played on a couple of the songs. Will Hunt, who's an amazing drummer, Will Hunt plays on a couple of my favorite songs on the record. So these guys played real drums on there. So that's the extent of it. I would never personally have something create a song for me. There's no freaking way I would do that. No way. Any of you guys could do that. That would be completely unspecial of me to do, and it wouldn't be legit. It wouldn't be from my heart. And no, I will never do that. But AI for some other stuff here and there. I mean, I'm also not a graphic artist, you know what I mean? So with the where we're at with AI right now for like the Fright Bite, there's certainly stuff I'll tell it to create give me a laboratory so I could put like a backdrop of a laboratory for Dr. Von Brainscan. Like I don't have time to go buy a laboratory and build one. You know what I mean? Like I use AI for that, and I know that there's artists that probably are angry at that. You know what I mean? They wouldn't do that. They would actually paint the thing, or they would make the logo. I mean, I'm open to using AI for some artistic needs of things I can't do good. I'm not good at drawing pictures of stuff. I'm like a child with that, you know. So why would I mean, I don't have the finances to pay a real guy to do it. And honestly, those guys are probably using AI too. So we're all have that benefit that we can prompt AI to do some artwork for us or fix a photo or something like that. But when it comes to like music, there's no way I would do that. And now knowing that I know that they have things they put in there that they know if you used it, like specifically Suno, which if you guys are unfamiliar with Suno, Suno is an AI app. You guys could try it yourselves tonight if you're not familiar. Suno. Go to suno.com and it'll let you make a song on there. And for example, you could go write a song that sounds like the 80s group RATT. You could even say RATT, it probably knows what it is. And, you know, make the lyrics about this and give it a couple prompts. And in 30 seconds, that thing will spit out a song that sounds kind of like RATT. And whatever. But if you were to actually like take that song and put it out as yours or something, you're gonna have to pay Suno to keep using it. Like that rug pull is coming soon, where anybody that cheated in music and is using like AI actually wrote the song, they're gonna have to pay just to be able to keep having it heard or used or whatever. So there's definitely a downside to it. It's cool for you guys to do for fun and stuff, but if you're actually looking to commercially put stuff out and you're going to use AI as music, you're not going to make any money off it. If it was only that easy, you know what I mean? I knew it wouldn't be. I'm like, man, what's going to happen here? But you know, of course they were going to pull the rug on that. So I'm just laughing because I did it the hard way anyway. You know, I'd say the songs that I've given Steven, he has 40 songs from me. And I started giving him all these like right after View to a Thrill. So like by 2019, I was back in demoing stuff up for him and sending him stuff this whole time. One of the songs he had probably forgot I had even given him 6 years ago. I was telling a story how he was looking for one song, but I have a hard drive that like took a dump, and I was like, oh my God. And my friend Mike, who's playing on the intro song, drums on the intro song for the Unleashed show. He was from Asphalt Ballet, Mike Kiner. I went down and he saved the drive, and he saved like 4 songs that are on Pearcy's new record. And I say that because I really needed to get into those tracks to be able to like hear what I was doing on some stuff, because it's been a few years. And I actually sometimes have to learn what I played when I wrote the song, just like if you wrote it and I had to learn it. Yep. That's my take. Does that kind of answer my take on the AI thing? Spicoli talking about looking the part with all the smoke and mirrors. Poison. Yeah. I mean, I remember, Poison had kind of that Motley kind of look going. I mean, Brett reminded me kind of an early Vince Neil in some ways. T-Cuz, what's happening? Round and Round, I think, made it to number 12. Maybe higher, not 100% sure. But I don't recall hearing any other singles cracking the top 40. Something fishy, because the songs were way great. I think they had one top 10. It might have rolled in at number 10, Round and Round. But they were I don't know if they crapped the top 40 either. But yeah, they had a strong enough following though off Out of the Cellar. Out of the Cellar might have sold like It's not in front of me, but it might even be up to like 3 or 4 million, copies by now. And then those people continued to buy each of their next records, and then they gained fans, of course. And that kind of kept going. I mean, if you go to any of those rat guys' houses, all their platinum records are on the wall. It's pretty dope, when you get into that club. It's there's not really that many people that have sold millions of records in rock. Most of the bands we would kind of hear or whatever were maybe went gold, maybe. But to see Stephen up there, and I was always enamored by that when I would, I've known the guy since I was like 15 or something, but when I'd go over to his house and you'd see those platinum records, you've probably seen, if you looked at any photos of me at Matt Thorne's studio, he has some out of the cellar platinum. Matt was given those from Stephen because he actually helped conceive some of those early Rat songs, specifically Back for More was a song Matt kind of came up with the intro for that the notes used or whatever. So he had a hand in it, and he got his platinum record on the wall. So if you're ever at MT Studios, you can see that up there. It's pretty awesome. Brooke, I wish I grew up in the 80s. I always say all the music was good, but then I listened to the top 40 countdowns on Sirius XM, and a lot of it was terrible. My biggest gripe about it being a kid in the 80s was getting duped into buying records from some of these bands, and they really only had like at the most 2 good songs on it, and the rest was really bad, to where you felt kind of ripped off for all the money you spent. Because back in the 80s, spending $12 on a record was kind of a lot. By today's money, that would be like 20 something dollars, and only have like 2 songs. I mean, today you could buy a song for $1, right? I mean, so for back then, that just seemed pretty spendy for getting some crappy songs. There was certainly a couple bands that had albums that were good enough you could listen to the whole thing. KLOS, I think, used to do something. They'd have the Seventh Day on the radio, where they would actually play the whole side 2 of Dark Side of the Moon, or some whole side of some classic rock album. And there was a time where those legendary bands put out solid, as we know, albums like from top to bottom, where you could listen to the whole thing and it was super dope. And then as the 80s went on, that just got less and less and less. Spicoli saw Robbie Crane interview. He didn't know he was in RATT for 6 years. He seemed very cool. Do I know him? Oh, yeah. I know Robbie Crane very well. And he was a super strong addition to RATT. I mean, he can obviously play his ass off and sing. And he's had a really interesting life, playing and being very young and getting the gig in Vince Neil's band right when Vince went solo. So he's been a part of this life for a really long time. And what's awesome about Robbie is that he's totally never been changed by the business. Like, he's the same Robbie Crane that he always was, and he's always been a super stand-up, loyal friend and solid dude. And obviously amazing player. Always been hella supportive to me. Even as of recently, like I'll get a phone call from Robbie probably a couple times a year at least, where he'll check in and see how I'm doing, maybe give me a little advice or something like that. So definitely love Robbie Crane, without a doubt. Jay Lee, happy Wednesday. Jay Lee in the house, y'all. Good stuff. T-Cuz, when you listen, I mean, a lot of the Billboard Hot Top 40 charts were so rigged for some reason. Disco Duck, Rick Dees, Making It, David Naughton, many, many more awful songs. Yeah, Disco Duck from Rick Dees. Yeah, there's some interesting things we learn. I guess I've always known about payola, which is supposed to be illegal, but where you like kick back the radio station to play the music and stuff. One of the most recent kind of scams they did went until they had the Nielsen ratings. Once the Nielsen sound scan stuff started happening, they weren't able to pull this scam that they had going up until that point. And the scam was they would go to the record store, the record company reps or whatever, and they would say, hey, take 20 of these records, right? Or 50 of these records, and then we'll give you 50 records, but you have to mark them all 100 as a sale. So in a lot of these cases, it would show that these bands sold like actually twice as many records as they did. They actually gave away, the record label gave away those records. However, they charge the band that the record is, right? Hey, you owe us for these records or whatever that we had to give out for promotion. That's coming out of your money. So the profit was actually much less, and then the cost of doing business, they made sure they didn't lose the money on those free records. They got it from the band's royalties probably, and then the record store would have a chance to make some extra money by having those, even though in some cases they probably sat on them forever. But just interesting stuff. Yeah, as time goes on, man, that the rig is in. Is that the saying? The fix is in. Disco Duck. Yeah, that's the worst. I saw Rick Dees interview someone on his talk show, and I'm thinking, how did us as a society allow this guy to have shows? It's funny. Like, I don't know if it's just because I was a little kid, but when I first moved from New Jersey and we were living in LA for about 2 years, and Kiss FM was Rick Dees's thing. And I don't know, maybe because I was immature kid, I thought he was hilarious. Like I got a lot of enjoyment when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. The Rick Dees sleaze. And there was some stuff he did that I thought was funny. He kind of reminded me of Michael Keaton a little bit, the way he looked. And they had funny songs that I still kind of remember they would play. I don't know if they were real songs or what. One that comes to mind that I still kind of hum to myself sometimes. It goes, "Why don't we just do it in the road?" Remember that? Is that a real song? I don't know. But there's this bumper music that they had that I still kind of remember. But you're right. I mean, when we look back on this stuff 40 years later, it's really stupid, and we wonder how we even liked it at the time. But tastes change, comedy changes, tastes change over the decades. And, what's funny to your grandpa isn't going to be funny to the grandkid, I mean, unless you're in a Groucho Marx humor, you know what I mean? I guess it's okay. But, now people like Bill Burr and, the Dane guy, Dane Cook, or Dave Chappelle, or stuff like that. Comedy's kind of changed. Eddie Murphy was like a huge comedian, well, of course, Richard Pryor had a lot of success, and then Eddie Murphy was kind of, when I was young, came out, and he broke a lot of barriers with his comedy, but a lot of his stuff, it doesn't fly, you know what I mean, today. We are living in a totally different world than it was in the 70s and 80s and predating that. There's so much stuff people used to do that you can't do anymore. And just like you guys, I'm sure you have Tubi. It's free. But I love watching 80s movies on Tubi. I love it. It takes me back to when I was 10 or 12, and I'd watch all these R-rated movies. But you watch them and just see how misogynistic they are, how much drugs there are, just the what's the word I'm looking for? Just social engineering maybe that was going on at the time. And it's amazing. Even down to like cartoons. I for nostalgia, I put on the G.I. Joe cartoon, and I was freaking shocked at like some of the stuff that was going on this cartoon. Like at one point, because they had some female G.I. Joe characters, and this one, I think it was like Lady Jane or something, was like working on a tank. She was like cleaning up a tank, and oh yeah, and then Flint comes walking in, and he just smacks her right on the ass. What you doing? Smacked. Just smacks her ass and starts talking about how they're going to hang out later and all this stuff. I'm like, This is a cartoon for like 8-year-olds. What's going on here? I mean, if you're not allowed to smack somebody's butt like that at work, or are you? I don't know. Oh my God, everybody. Tim Lloyd 69's here. Sorry I'm late. Was shaving my areolas, but I'm here now. Well, you got to be careful, man. I know you can't rush shaving the areolas. You'll cut your nipples off. Man, good to have you here, Tim Lloyd. My Texas homies, my Dallas homies here. You've seen Tim Lloyd before in the road videos. One of the recent ones. Tim shocked the world with his views. Some people, I think they were even offended. Some people, I think he's funny. Tim's like, he's got the hillbilly kind of humor. You know what I mean?
You're frightening me, hillbilly.
And I realize some people get frightened by that.
My immediate reaction is no, but I've got kind of a yesy aftertaste.
That's right. I'm not doing my enough drops tonight. Okay, let me get back. Thank you guys for the super chats. I love you guys. Thank you so much. What else we got here? T-Cuz is saying he's talking to my homie James. Tomahawk is killer, and I love the Melvins. Great show. Dale Crover is John Bonham-esque. 100% heavy. Go, oh, hey, I love anybody who's John Bonham-esque. I can tell you that. Dalhab, how you doing, buddy? Eric, what do you think about Sebastian Bach taking over lead vocals for Twisted Sister? I think it's super cool, man. It's Sebastian's never hid that he's a huge rock fan. He loves RATT, too. He loves it all, man. He loves Motley, RATT. He's young. He was super young back when Skid Row first made it. And he's a fan like everybody else. And, him singing for Twisted Sister, I think it's super cool to do that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's like I don't know how long that's going to go on for, but somewhat of a possible limited engagement thing. But I think it's fun to mix it up like that. You almost have to at this point, for these guys. They're just getting so up there in age, and just to keep interest in it, I mean, who thought we'd even be talking about some of these bands all these years later, that they're still we're talking about these guys still, but we do, and I think it's cool, man. Again, that's to add to that question that you have. These guys that have to replace a singer, like, do they get an unknown guy or do they get a known guy? And I don't know what you guys, but in some cases, it's almost like you probably would be more apt to see the band with the new singer if it was somebody you've heard of or knew. Whereas if you didn't know who it was and it was nobody who did anything before that, you might not care as much, or you'd feel like it wasn't maybe worth as much for the ticket. I don't know. What do you guys think? Generally speaking, do you prefer when you see a band that it's a band that you know who the guy is? I mean, one interesting thing, like right now, the band Static X, which was a super cool band. It was a bummer when Wayne Static died, but now they're out there again. I really love how they're doing this, where they have the dude wearing the contraption, so you really can't see who it is. And I think it's pretty awesome that they're doing that. T-Cuz, who is that's singing for Static X? But point being, they took a real guy, you know what I mean, that's got a proven track record to put into this position. And that's another point I'll kind of touch on, is you can get a nobody, I don't want to say a nobody, but an unknown. That's a better way to word it. You could get an unknown person to come in, but there's so many variables there that you really don't know. Like, how's this guy going to be once we get out there? Like, what is he saying online? What is he doing after the show with people? What is he on drugs? Does he do this? Is he cool? I mean, there's a lot that you don't know. And sometimes these other guys that have had a career in music, you kind of know that they're professional enough to have been playing in their band, and you're kind of lowering the risk of it going bad. Because how many chances do you get to go, oh, here's our new singer? I mean, this guy's actually our new singer. Okay, that didn't work out. This guy's our new singer. Like, you don't want to have to do it a lot of times. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you're doing it right. And you got somebody that's going to actually not only pull it off, but then it's also can have a strong enough voice to stay out there under bad circumstances. There's some people that are great singing at home, right? When they get their sleep every night. Sleep is something you don't get. You're going to find out, especially when you're specifically if you're a flyout band. If you're a flyout band, I guarantee you're not going to sleep because you have to be up too early to catch these flights and you're up too late playing the shows. If you're on a tour bus, you could pull it off because you could go to bed at 6 a.m. and just jump into your bunk and actually be uninterrupted, sleep until 3 p.m. or something when you have to be at that sound check and you roll out of your bunk. And everybody else is getting ready for dinner in the real world and you're like, where's breakfast? That could kind of work and you could get some rest. But those flyouts, every flyout I've done with Pearcy, I feel like in the last 2 years, from night one, no sleep. Like a flight will get canceled, something will be missed, and there goes my first night of sleep. And then say there's 2 shows together, like the first night of the show, you're wound up from doing the gig, you get back to your hotel room. By the time you get back, it's like 2 a.m. Lobby calls 4 a.m. to catch these flights or something to the next place, or we have a little bit of a drive, so we got to get up early. There goes night 2 of sleep. Or maybe you caught an hour. Like the last run we did, I was gone 4 days and I slept 4 hours in 4 days. The first thing that usually goes is your voice. You could kind of tell when somebody's tired and they're like, you could hear it in their voice starts to sound a little crackly. I'm not really a singer. I can kind of belt it out. I can kind of yell some background vocals and stuff. But I'll definitely start losing my high range in those situations. And it could be like that for anybody. So I just think that if a big name group is going to take somebody, it's probably going to be somebody that's proven themselves that they can hang and pull this job off. And they're not really taking any big chances. Spicoli, I want to hear some stories about the first time you recorded at Pearcy's house, dude. Smoking with that dude and recording music must have been wild, dude. Did you start sparking it up? Of course come on, dude. This is Pearcy we're talking about. Of course, he had me getting him weed when I was like 15. He thought I was older. And he's like, hey, do you know where to get any? I was like, hey, let me get on my bike and go. I'll get on my little Diamondback Viper and go ride and go get some weed. But yeah, it was super exciting to go do that. The first couple times that we went over. At first, it was over just across the street. Chris Hager had set Pearcy up with these DAT tapes. He had like a little DAT studio of you might not even know what that is, but it's like a hard disk kind of setup recorder. And he let me and my friend Ray went over there and we had a couple riffs. And I remember, I think Chris Hager helped program some drums on it or something, or no, even, yeah, I think so. And then Stephen even sang over a little bit of it. I know we didn't have a bass and Steven was always, he's like, yeah, just use a guitar for that. And he like got a clean sound. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of dumb. Some of those earlier stuff I did recording with Steven ended up on some of his releases. Like if you have Stephen Pearcy Before and Laughter, that has some of those tracks on it. Like the first one where I ever went up to Matt's was when I was about 20 years old. He had me come up there, and Stephen Pearcy has a song called Dizzy. He has a song called Les Roches. Goodbye to You. These were songs that we recorded in this session, like when I went up there, and they never got past like the demo version, but he did end up putting them out on some Cleopatra releases. And I know even on like social media on Facebook, if you typed in like Stephen Pearcy Dizzy or La Roche, I think those might show up on there or something, and you could hear them. They're a little raw and rough, but you could hear that I had a little something to offer when I was a teenager or young, you know, as far as like maybe having a little something I'd be able to, some magic I'd be able to give later on. And it turned out to be true. And now with the new record, definitely I'm at the peak of, you know, some of these riffs and stuff. My favorite song off the new record's called On the Edge, and I've let a few people check it out. And that's some good stuff on here. But yeah, you know, we smoke when we're in the studio. That's just something Matt doesn't. Matt's like totally sober. He doesn't do anything like that. Spicoli's saying hi to Marsha. Crawford's going to see Motley and Tesla August 3rd in Virginia. Can't wait. Well, that should be fun. Tesla was like one of the first bands I saw live with Def Leppard. The In the Round Def Leppard Tesla tour. Like, my parents took me to it. I was like 14 or something like that. And it was pretty magical, man. Just being in the 80s back then and going to the San Diego Sports Arena and seeing that show. I was super excited about it. Those are some of the best times in a way, looking back, just, you know, being 16, 17, just experiencing the whole heavy metal scene back then. It was truly magic, and it's never been the same, really. But Kiefer has canceled his 2026 tour, dude. Well, you better call John Tora. Would that happen? Would you see him fill in for for Tom Kiefer? Hey, you never know. Maybe Stephen Pearcy will take over on some of those dates. We'd love to put out the word. Oh, don't cancel the whole show. Don't cancel the whole event. Would you guys rather hear some RATT instead that night? Come on. Give Pearcy a call. Let's get out there on some of these shows. Spicoli saying Gunshine rocks, dude. Yeah, they're a cool band. Go give Gunshine a follow and support new music. Jojo, the Darrops guy, his Van Halen chops are killer. Is he a YouTube guitarist, Jojo? Skylar saying, hit that like button for Erik. Yeah. Do it for Erik. Do it for America, bro. Do it for America. Psychedelic River Chicken. Erik, what's the worst tone you've ever fell in love with? Something technically wrong, but the rule book that you kept it anyway because it just felt right. The worst tone I've ever fell in love with, something technically wrong. Now, are you asking specifically for stuff that I've done in the studio? Because there's been times where I had a tone so bad it sounded like a harmonica, but it kind of worked, you know, in that song. There's this song called on I think it's on Smash. Is it on, or is it on View to a Thrill? There's a song called What Do You Think Went Wrong on there. What do you think? It's called What Do You Think? And that one on the solo, it sounds like it's a harmonica, but it's just an awful guitar tone, and me just using like a Bic lighter on a guitar as a slide. It sounds like a harmonica. Now, as far as like other people's tones that are awful, but it works, I totally have to say Keith Richards, without a doubt. And Keith did interesting stuff in the 60s when recording rock music was still fairly a new thing. He apparently like would put a tape deck down in a swimming pool, empty swimming pool or something like that. Sometimes he had different things. He would record in hotel rooms and everything too. But he would take like an acoustic guitar and just overdrive the hell out of it into that little recording device, and just the peaking it out would cause a distortion. And even though he was using an acoustic guitar, we thought it was an electric. You know, he would get a really like unique sound out of it that just kind of worked, I guess. But I mean, even Satisfaction and those kind of songs, that's not like a guitar tone I would ever want. You know what I mean? But I can't imagine hearing that song without that crappy tone. I don't know, it just kind of works. I don't know. There's two examples, one of mine, one of somebody else's. James wants to know, hell yeah, I was impressed with Dale Crover's chops. Great show. Hoping for some Faith No More dates in 2027. I was a really big Faith No More fan. More so than some of his, weirder other bands that he has. It was really trippy. I remember seeing Metallica. I believe it was Justice for All tour, and they had Faith No More opening up, and they were getting booed everywhere off the stage, and it was really hard to believe, that the audience was that fickle on it. It had to do a little bit with anything that was rap. If anything that had a little bit of rap in it, those older, old school Metallica fans were way not into, surprisingly. I was surprised, and I say that because another big four band, Anthrax, did do collaborations with Public Enemy, and Run DMC had done collaborations with Aerosmith. So I don't know why the Metallica fans were being so lame about it. But I remember being at that show, kind of just looking around, everybody booing. I was like, what's wrong with you guys? I thought it was great, but James Hetfield ended up having to come out on stage and do war pigs with those guys just to keep the fans from throwing them stuff at the stage and chasing Faith No More off. So that was weird. But yeah, Faith No More just kind of, I don't know, after the 90s, it kind of disappeared for a good minute, and he's just been doing his other stuff, right? Here in Louisiana, we've got the confirmed most accomplished slide guitarist. His name's Sonny Landreth. It's unbelievable how he can finger pick with four fingers and play slide with his pinky and fretting. That's pretty dope, T-Cuz. Yeah, it kind of requires if I'm not mistaken, he probably has one of those ring slides. It's a pretty low. It's not like the old school big clunky slide. You can, if you're pretty accurate with your fingers, you can use, it looks like a wedding ring or something, but you can use that thing to where you're doing a little bit of both on there. See, that's Matt. If you're wondering right now, Matt's sending us text messages regarding the record and the set order they're talking about right now. So I wasn't making that up. Hey, speaking of lawyers and stuff, we got Christian Duke here tonight. Hello, better late than never. We pumped your YouTube channel tonight, sir, and I hope some people signed on. But yeah, very cool to have you here at the Unleashed tonight. If you missed earlier, Christian, you can go back and listen to the beginning of the show. I think somebody brought up your site as being cool, and so I talked about it for a second. Got a Lee Ming crazy face here. He's giving you guys the crazy face challenge. What do you got for him? Oh, Brooke's saying Brooke loves Reach for the Sky from, well, there's the song Reach for the Sky that we were talking about earlier. And then of course, there's the album Reach for the Sky from RATT. I would say I met Pearcy right around before that came out. I remember I was 15 years old or something when he moved in the neighborhood, and yeah, Dancing Undercover. I met him between Dancing Undercover and Reach for the Sky. He had given me some kind of promo stuff for Reach for the Sky before it came out, some t-shirts and stuff, and some tour books that were going to be given away on the tour that year. And I thought that was pretty cool. One thing he gave me that I should have held on to, I totally blew it. There's a beret that they had given me that I had for so many decades. And it was a little disco beret, and he you know where he wore it? If you watch the RATT MTV Unplugged, he is wearing it in that. He went through this phase around that time where he was wearing that thing around a lot. When he wasn't on stage, usually with RATT, he'd have his hair in a ponytail, and he'd wear that little French leather beret. And I remember he's the kind of guy, like I said, Stephen will just give stuff away. I mean, this was way the hell before eBay and all that. This was still this is probably in the 90s. I think he gave that to me. And our heads are shaped different. I have a pretty large head, and he has kind of a smaller head. And for him, it worked. But on me, it's just that thing. I don't even know how he kept it on his head. But I thought it kind of looked a little... Steven can get away with wearing stuff that I can't get away with sometimes for some reason, because he looks more biker guy than I look more. I don't know how to describe myself, but this did not work for me, and it just sat in my closet. And at some point, I think I just threw it away. And I'm thinking something like that probably would have been worth, I don't know. What do you think? Somebody would probably buy that MTV Unplugged leather studded beret. They probably would have paid like, I don't know, 500 maybe. What do you think? What do you think that thing would go for today? The beret Stephen Pearcy wore at the MTV Unplugged. Who knows? What I do have something. I have from the Giving Yourself Away video. He wore, during that time on Detonator, he was doing a little bit of a Clockwork Orange. Steven was doing the Clockwork Orange look, and he had the knee pads and he had the fencing pads that he wore. And I have those. I have the fencing pads still, and those I do still have from the video. What do you think those are worth? Now, before you answer, I wore those too. See, I probably devalued them, but I wore them in his solo band for a long time. I was like more gothed up early on. I used to have like the gothy armbands, and I'd have the fencing freaking things. In my mind, I was ready for battle, but like looking back, it's kind of silly. There's a funny Reddit sub that you guys got to check out called the Blunder Years. Have you ever seen that? It's called you'll love it. It's called the Blunder Years, and it's adults showing their photos of typically when they were in high school. It just, because all of us look silly, right? We think we're so cool and hip at the time, but when you look at it like 20, 30 years later, you're like, oh my God, how did you let me wear that? Why'd you let me do my hair like that, Mom? Yeah. Donald Petrie, what's happening, Donald? Much love. See you in the Northeast. Yes, I can't wait. Psychedelic River Chicken. What's a myth about old Les Paul's mojo aged wood? Whatever that you think is actually true, and one that you think is just a myth or not true. No, I know that you'll see people trying to discredit that on YouTube. There's a kid I see who goes, oh, the tones in the wood, and then he has like a rake made of metal and puts a pickup on it, and it still sounds like a guitar. But honestly, it sounds like crap. No, there are woods, specifically with on Les Pauls, that definitely sound better. The problem is some of these woods are kind of more rare, and over the years they've had protections put upon them. Specifically ebony. Like, I'm like an ebony fretboard guy. I love ebony on the fretboards and stuff. And it's hard to come by. And even the guitars that say they're ebony, it's kind of like almost an imitation, almost ebony. It's not like it used to be. And for the longest time, they were just chopping those trees down like they were going to have them forever. And some of the cuts of wood that Gibson had back then, they were just more solid, and they definitely resonated differently. Like, I can tell, man, I don't care what other people say. I can tell a solid guitar. And also the weight, those heavier Les Pauls sound better to me, man. Like, these newer ones that have the weight relief where they went in there and took it out, they feel not as solid, and like there's just something about it. It's just not the same. To me, they do not sound as good. So I don't think it's a myth. But I also don't know when we're going to get supplies back to where we can start using those better woods again. Right now, I'm for Gibsons, I'm eyeing out older ones, to buy secondhand, because there's certainly people that had money that bought these guitars and never played them. Those are the best people to buy them from. I'm a little hesitant on buying on a used guitar, because if it is somebody that played it, the frets are going to be a little worn out, and maybe the truss rod, it doesn't have much left in it, and you might not be able to like intonate the thing as well anymore. So there's some risks, but there's these people that, especially if they live somewhere that's not crazy weather, up and down weather, like a California guitar that's just been sitting in some guy house here in California, that's just been sitting on a wall for 20 years, and he's finally going to sell it. That's a good that's a good buy on like Facebook Marketplace or something. I've definitely been checking that out. I don't think I'd ever throw down for a brand new Les Paul at $6,000. Man, that's way too much for a guitar. Way too much. Donald says he lost his last computer and accounts, and these are new accounts here. Facebook and Messenger is still the same as Rat Jr. Oh yeah. Okay, Donald. I will keep your support and see you soon. Miss you. All right, brother. Yeah, I never knew your actual name. You was the rat thing on there, so that's cool. All right, Donald. Good to know, buddy. Joe Bonamassa. Thank you, T-Cuz. Yeah. Joe Bonamassa is a guitarist. Well, obviously plays live all the time and a brilliant blues guy. But he's always he doesn't give a shit. He'll just turn on his camera and start ripping it up like it's nothing, you know. But even he has like amazing gear. That guy's a collector, you know. He has some very, very valuable amps and guitars he's got there. And even with all that, it still sounds a little funky recording on his phone, you know. So I guess that's the thing I worry most about. Eve Day May, do you still play and talk with Blas Elias? What is he doing now? Yeah, he's still the main drummer of the Stephen Pearcy band, and he's obviously been doing drumming in the West Coast version of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So with the exceptions of like late October through December when he's doing the TSO stuff, he's the Stephen Pearcy guy for playing drums, and also the Pearcy D Martini. They're playing Monsters of the Mountain, and they have, I think, a hard rock show left on the books, and Bloss will be at those. But I'll see him in like a week and a half out at these gigs, and he's doing good. He's he's just a family guy. He's got his kids and his wife and his home, and he's always practicing. He does studio stuff. He's got to really be one of those guys who woodsheds all the time, just to keep his chops up to do stuff like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He just had to go to Europe with Sabotage, the band Sabotage, and they got to open for Iron Maiden. So the last time I saw him, which would be a few weeks ago, he had just come back from that, and he was like super excited. Like it was just a super cool opportunity for him to open for Iron Maiden. I don't think he's ever done that. So it was a hard gig to do. He knew some of the songs because some of those Sabotage songs, I guess they play in TSO, but he did have some he had to learn, and that stuff's really difficult, you know. So, but he did really good. He said he had an amazing time, and that's about it. He's one of the most pro guys I've ever known. Pool time with Ron. What's up, Eric? Hope you're doing well. Glad to see y'all live. Yeah. Pool Time's a fan of the show and a friend. Head over to Pool Time with Ron's YouTube. Give him a follow as well. You know, I try to promote all my friends. Sights and Sounds. I can't get over Stephen being 70. He sounds really good and terrific. The band with him, as much as I'd love Rat Reunion, Pearcy Band gets the job done. Dare I say better? Well, thank you so much, Christian. Yeah, it is pretty rad that Stephen has been sounding better lately than he has in a long time. You know, you got to come out and just and see the show and celebrate it, man. You know, Stephen always has a great band, and we're going to turn it up and play all the hits. And we're super stoked to get back on the road next week. But yeah, it scares me, man. You know, like that number is a big number, right? 70, where you go, 70. And you go like, how much longer are we going to do this? I'll always keep referencing Alice Cooper and Halford and stuff, because those guys are raising the bar for how long you could go out and do heavy metal. And Alice and Steven are kind of singing like the same register. So I'm kind of keeping my eye on Alice to see how far he goes. And I'm hoping my big bro, Stevens, can follow in his same steps. Another guy who's getting up there is Rudy Sarzo, man. He's 75. That's cray. Definitely Rudy takes really good care of himself, 100%. Like he has the same look he's had since the 70s. You know what I mean? He's managed to keep the same physique, the same hair, the same everything. And when he hits the stage, it's the same Rudy we've known our whole lives. But that's pretty amazing, you know. When I see him, I can't help but think that this guy's like close to retiring, though. Like as I see some of these guys still getting on the airplanes and doing these things, like I feel like I'm looking at him and he's really somewhere else. Like he's really like galloping on a horse somewhere in a meadow. He's not really in the airport waiting for a delayed flight. I don't know. I mean, at what point do you just go, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And you just enjoy your last 5 years on the planet playing golf or something. Eve loves Stephen Pearcy. How do you not love Stephen Pearcy? Come on. I also want to give Matt his flowers. Talk about having tremendous history with Steven. Solid bass player. I need to see these guys live. And they were in Louisville recently too. I know, man. Well, you know, you're always on the guest list, bud, if we ever play somewhere. And it'll be +1. So you don't have to go alone. That's how I treat it here at the Unleashed Show. Pool Time. Gypsy Road is a badass song. I remember wearing out my record needle playing Rat Cinderella Kiss albums back in the day. Yeah, I loved Cinderella too. And Gypsy Road was a badass song. T-Cuz likes teaching the parrot dirty un-PC words. It's very much day brightening to laugh like crazy at. Yeah, Matt Thorne's got an African gray bird, and hearing Matt, that's one thing I want to like ask when I see him. Matt, I'll see if he'll tell a couple stories on video about his African gray for these next road videos, because it's just funny to hear Matt do his bird's voice, because his bird does his voice, right? So it's like the best guy to do the impersonation would be Matt of this bird. But it's funny stuff that it says, and I'll save it for when you guys hear it from him. James 100% agrees on the Scott Weiland points. Good. Warrior X is switching phones. Well, thanks for letting us know that. Much love, Eric. Your videos always keep me up to date. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, you guys always know what's going on with me because I'm here to hang out. Man, some of these hangouts go on and on and on and on. Man, I never thought I would sit here talking so dang much. Well, Brad Stalker's here tonight, everybody. Love Drive is Logan's Broadway cover band that's now doing some originals. Wildfire is his all-new original band. Okay, that's cool. And you know, I forgot to say why I was kind of interested to know, because I had a segue for it, but this had nothing to do with Logan. I didn't want him to think I was ripping him off, so this will be the point for me to bring this up, because on the new Pearcy record there is a song called Love Drive, and when you guys hear it, this was the working title for it the whole time, and I think I wrote it for Steven probably like maybe 3 years ago or so, and so I didn't know Logan yet at the time. I just didn't want you to think I was stealing the name. But we do have a song called Love Drive, and so maybe, I don't know, you guys can get a chuckle out of it, but it's a pretty cool song. It's like when I came up with the music, I wanted something fun, because I know some of the old Rat fans are like, hey, are you gonna write some music that's kind of old school summer fun time stuff? And I do like to do that kind of stuff. I wanted to do like my own kind of Panama kind of song, Van Halen Panama type deal, or some kind of Van Halen thing, right? And so this song Love Drive, if I had to kind of describe what it reminds me of, it's kind of like everybody wants some, musically speaking, like Everybody Wants Some meets Panama type of Van Halen-esque song. And even Steven kind of does some David Lee Roth kind of odes in the, you know, some scats, some ad libs or whatever, like Roth would do in there. But it's a total 80s rock song, and it's kind of cool. So there's definitely something for everybody on the new record, including a really heavy song that Stephen played a little clip of. What do you call it? Godspeed 45. Did you hear some of that? Whoa. Somebody's like, whoa, is that Pantera or Iron Maiden or something? Johnny Ponder saying, dude, Ozzy and AIC tour was epic. Yeah. There's been some great Ozzy tours. That was one thing about Ozzy, always took the best bands for the longest time. Leading up to Ozfest. I mean, Ozfest would have been like the pinnacle of all the cool bands when it used to be like Ozzy would take Motley Crue, and then the next year would be RATT, and then the next year would be Poison, that sort of thing. And it'd be like one new band that you were totally going to know and hear and watch it on MTV. But then by the time, Ozfest started, it was like all the new metal bands that were happening were on that bill, which was pretty sweet. And that went on forever. It seems like Ozfest was like a great selling package, for many years. Brooke deleted that comment because they didn't want to start any more unnecessary drama, but was taken back at how terrible the JM thing was. Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, that's something that's going to probably get talked about forever. You can't escape it. My theory is there'll eventually be a crime documentary made about it. Like, I think we're going to see this dude on American Greed or something like that. At some point, I'm pretty sure you're going to see some kind of documentary. He's going to be famous, not in the way he hoped. Fred Solopow, what you think about tomorrow when Alex and David Lee Roth take the stage it's a TED Talk or something, right? Well, let me see.
My immediate reaction is no, but I've got kind of a yesy aftertaste.
I mean, we all kind of want to see it, right? But I'll tell you, this is probably an insane amount of money they're paying these guys. I could just imagine, right? A TED Talks. These guys have so much money to throw at these guys to just have something like that. I remember going like into Sirius radio station once. Oh no, where was it that? It might have been. Anyways, they had so much interesting stuff going on there all the time for the people that worked there. They had performances going on and stuff like that from other famous people that would just, Rick Springfield's going to play at lunch today, or whatever. They had just interesting stuff. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to see, I'm sure somebody's going to put that online, right? We'll be able to see Roth and Alex. Did that surprise you guys to see those two hook up first? I wasn't very surprised because I think towards the end, the fallout with Sammy, Alex seemed pretty vocal that he felt that the classic Van Halen was the Roth. He made that pretty clear. And, Sammy and Mike kind of teamed up a long time ago. They've been doing their thing for a long time. And it was kind of like Team Sammy, Mike. And then there was the, Ed and Alex, Ed and Al, and they had Wolfgang. I mean, as soon as Wolfgang was like, man, Wolfgang was only like, who was he, like 15 or 14 when he was playing with Van Halen on those tours? That's pretty amazing, man. Can you imagine being 14 or 15 years old and all of a sudden being tossed on stage in arenas and stuff playing? I mean, that's pretty far out. And I didn't hate it either. I mean, I think it was cool that they had that family thing going, the three Van Halens and Roth up there for a minute, because you still, if you were more into the Sammy thing, that you weren't missing out on it. If you were a big fan of the Sammy era, you could go see Sammy and Mike do their Cabo deal. So there was really nothing lost there. James says, love what you do, Stephen and Company did on View to a Thrill. It's a great album. Oh, thank you, man. This new album, though, it's not going to disappoint. I just wish it was out. I hate that it's not out. I hate that I'm hearing it and can't share it with you guys. And that's mostly for totally egotistical reasons, I assure you. It's purely ego-based, and that's it. I just want everybody to bow down to it. No. I don't know. Hopefully you just love at least some of it. Buzzing Fresh. T-Cuz is the best old school Louisiana gentleman. Oh, I love having T-Cuz here. And also, he's like my nostalgia guy. He can pull up anything that I can't remember what it is I'm thinking of musically. He's the guy that can pull it up. RATT is the best of those 80s Sunset Strip bands, along with Dawkins. I'm gonna have to agree that out of those bands, even though Motley probably sold the most records, and Dawkins, I don't know who sold more, RATT or Dawkins, but looking back, if you listen to the albums, I know it sounds a little biased, but I think RATT had more good songs on their entire albums than those other bands had on their entire albums, in spite of maybe Motley's selling more millions of copies. I feel like Motley was another one of those bands that didn't quite have, they would have like 3 or 4 bangers and then some that weren't as great. Eve de May, I'd say RATT and Guns N' Roses was the best of the Strip, and Van Halen. Certainly Van Halen was for a long time. The Doors too. I mean, man, the Strip has some history. Dale Happ, do you guys still play You're in Love live? Yeah, it's the Ugly Three. We've never not played it in the 25 years. We play You're in Love, and then we do Lay It Down into Lack of Communication. There was a time where we'd like throw a solo song on too, like a fourth one that was drop D, just for, I think we were trying to do You Only Live Twice for a minute there. That's tough to get people to be open to hearing a new original song. I think the single for the new Pearcy record, On the Edge, I think you guys are going to like that one enough that you're going to expect us to play it. That's what I think. Or you'll be happy that we played it. But I don't think we're going to push the limits like and play the new album in its entirety, although that would be super dope to do as a one-off maybe. Like at a record release party and do the whole thing would be kind of cool. 80s new wave, I love it too, Brooke. 80s new wave is totally awesome. I mean, that was my favorite thing about the 80s, is just all of the pop deal to it all. You know what I mean? Where you still had heavy metal, but then you had the Duran Durans and the Cure and all that stuff too. It was also different, right? You had your kind of more happy dance pop and alternative back then, or new wave. It would be considered new wave, right? But all of it, I loved it, man. I loved all of it. I liked how it all could live together on MTV at one time. Okay. It was the Beatles, right? Okay, why don't we do it in a row? Yeah, that's like Ringo. Ringo Starr probably sings that one, right? I had a feeling after I said that, I think that's the Beatles. And I gave it away that I'm not a huge Beatles guy. It's from the White Album, stupid. No, Brooke didn't say stupid, but she gave me a wink. Thanks. Appreciate it. T-Cuz, dude, Kermit the Frog, Rainbow Connection was top 40. Ridiculous. But we couldn't have Wanted Man as top 40. Lay It Down, Dance, Way Cool. All should have charted. It's nonsense, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, by 1990, 1991, that format was about to change a lot. I feel like when RATT did Point Break soundtrack, Nobody Rides for Free, that was like the end, man. That was the end of RATT. That was the end of an era. And it was a cool way to go out, at the same time. It was a super epic movie, Keanu Reeves movie, and still holds up today. And they had the song at the very end where Patrick Swayze goes out and surfs his last wave before he dies. He didn't go out in a hail of bullets. He went out in a unsurfable wave. And Nobody Rides for Free kind of sets it off. And of course, the video is super cool. I knew Stephen by that point, obviously. And I did see that tour, and they kind of started to downsize. It's like I remember seeing that at Irvine Meadows was like the Detonator tour when it came to LA. It was at the Irvine Meadows, and it had like LA Guns open and Contraband or something like that. And it was a cool outdoor gig, and that was kind of the end, man. That was like the end of an era, and then the 90s rolled in, and it was a little rough. It was a little rough. Luckily, we did have bands like Alice in Chains and stuff to keep us rolling through. And a couple of those Seattle bands are cool. I know the 80s guys all, point the finger at Nirvana and hate it. I don't. I mean, in 1990, I was 17 years old. You know what I mean? Just turning 18 that year. So I loved all that stuff too. I loved all the Seattle bands. I was kind of more of a Mother Love Bone guy than a Pearl Jam guy, but I mean, certainly I liked some of Pearl Jam stuff as well. And I think when it all is said and done, I'll probably have to return to my people of the 90s, like when these guys finally retire, even though I got to have fun and run with these dudes for a few decades, before I retire, I'll probably go back to the old men that are my people, my 90s people. Just based off my age and everything. For the Doggies Guitars, getting an unknown guy and have like a million submissions of auditions can get a bit cringe, but it's fun to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of tryout videos going on. I mean, we've been watching them for Skid Row for a good amount of time. Certainly the coolest person for Skid Row so far has been Lizzie Hale, as far as having the whole package, you know what I mean? As far as not just being able to hit the notes and sing it, but there's just a presence that some front people have that you just can't put a price on, and she's one of those people, without a doubt. It's just something, a presence that they have that's just larger than life, and it really helps sell it as far as her being in there. But she has Hailstorm, and that band does really freaking great, and she's a very well-known woman at this point. She doesn't have to like take the gig in Skid Row. She loves that kind of music, and she listened. I talked to her about it. I asked her about it. Why? I go, how do you even know this stuff? And her dad listened to it. So she grew up listening to Skid Row just from her dad being an 80s rocker. And that was something that would have worked, though. I'd say like if she had joined the band, they would have been off to the races with somebody like her at the helm. The Erik guy that they had also had a pretty amazing voice. Groberg. Very, very good voice. But it's going to take a very special person to like take over in some of these bands, like to take over for somebody like a Sebastian Bach or the Quiet Riot one's kind of tough. Some people had some good points about the image thing where, Kevin DeBro, definitely was enigmatic. Is that a good word? He had a lot of charisma, to be sure, and he was interesting and cool to look at, but I mean, he was a slender guy, but he was pretty crazy looking, even back then, looking at him compared to some of the more model-esque type guys. I mean, he had kind of a crazy hair going on, and he'd wear these kind of crazy outfits and act like a madman, but it worked. It suited Quiet Riot, and it was a little bit different and kind of gave them an edge over some of these other bands at the time. But I guess my point is, he wasn't a model or anything, Kevin. And, the kid that's been singing recently, maybe it could, that would work. He almost had that kind of nutty, this is a little kind of different, but it works kind of thing going on. So I could see it working or not working. I'm not like either way. If it works out for him and he gets it, that's awesome. If not, I can understand if they went with somebody more known too, for reasons I talked about earlier. While we're on that topic, I definitely want to say that Jizzy Pearl did a super amazing job fronting this band, and he's up there too. Jizzy's not a youngster, man, and I've played so many shows with Quiet Riot, like over the last 10 years that he's played with them, and I've had great times at all those. They typically would open for Pearcy. And it was super cool to hear, come on, feel the noise and bang your head, just like you guys. It takes me back to being 12 years old or whatever, and gets you in the mood for a night of 80s rock, So it was super cool. I've never heard Jizzy ever have a bad night, no matter what the circumstances were for Quiet Riot, traveling wise, and things I was talking about earlier. He has always performed so well, and I just, wanted to congratulate him on the job he did in the band. I'm pretty sure he's going on to Love Hate, which is what I kind of speculated before, which makes total sense. I'm a big Love Hate fan from back in the day, so I hope that's what he's doing. And there's no reason why there shouldn't be a new Love Hate record coming out, right? T-Cuz is saying Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street are perfect records all time, in my opinion. The Stones are a top 5 band. Yeah, I got my Stones shirt on tonight. So many great tunes. Yeah, growing up, my family was definitely more a Stones fan. I think they were kind of, I don't know, they were divided in the 60s, but there was kind of two camps. There was like the Beatles camp and there was the Rolling Stones camp, and definitely my dad loved the Rolling Stones, and yeah, they had the Hot Rocks record. They had a couple other ones, and that was kind of a staple in the household. So I definitely grew up on the Rolling Stones in my house, and always have a soft spot for them. Just living on this planet for 53 years, I've certainly heard my share of Beatles songs too. But there's just something that spoke to me more from the Stones. But without a doubt, the Beatles have a handful of just, songs that'll probably be, played 100 years from now. James is saying that's a great breakdown on Faith and More, Eric. Cool. You saw them in concert with Metallica, their heyday. That's a memorable tour. Yeah. Anytime I saw Metallica was super memorable. I saw the Monsters of Rock at the LA Coliseum back in the late 80s with Van Halen. I then saw him on the Injustice for All tour, and I think that was the last time I saw him was Injustice for All. I never saw him after that, but that I will hold those memories close to my heart. You can even see the last Metallica show. I think that one that they did on the Injustice for All tour at Irvine Meadows, it's on YouTube, so you can experience what I experienced when I was 17 years old and see it for yourself. Buzzing Frets like Sights, Sounds, and Flavors. Yeah, he's been doing some great work, and he's gonna keep getting better. Mr. Star 82, bro, are you playing the Mountain Music Fest in a few weeks in Gatlinburg? No, I am not. That'll be Warren DeMartini and Carlos Cavazzo on stage playing that. And it should be pretty dope. I'll definitely watch the replay, right? The videos and such. I'm playing at the next 2 solo Pearcy shows. One's, I think, at the Playhouse in Rhode Island, and there's another casino one doing. I should tell you. I'll look on. If you go to official stephenpearcy.com, you can get his website and go to his tour page. And he kind of specifies on there whether it's a solo show or a Pearcy DeMartini. The next gigs I have, August 7th, Friday, August 7th. Ooh, it's coming up. It's the Ridgefield Playhouse in Ridgefield, Connecticut. It'll be a Pearcy solo show. Joel Hoekstra on guitar with moi. And then the next one will be on the next day, Saturday, August 8th, Bally's Event Center in Lincoln, Rhode Island. That'll be my next shows. And then the Pearcy DeMartini ones, of course, Monsters on the Mountain on August 21st. And then 2 days later, they're at the Hard Rock Live in Orlando. So get your tickets for all these shows. The Pearcy DeMartini. And then if you haven't heard yet, the Rainbow. We're playing the Rainbow Party this year, which is going to be Sunday, September 6th. I believe I Hate God, Sherry Curry. There's some cool bands playing that day, and we're headlining that thing. So that should be a lot of fun for the Hollywood peeps. And if you want to see me play with the project in Costa Mesa, if you're in the SoCal area, it's this Friday at the Tiki. And we're super stoked to play this show this weekend. The band's got some great songs, and it's going to be a good hang. Johnny Ponder would have paid $400 for that break. God damn it. You could have paid a 16th of my rent. Damn, dude. What about for the the fencing pads? Those I have. I'll pull those out. Next Wednesday, I'm going to pull out the fencing pads, and I'm going to get some pictures from the videos and show you guys those. And let's kind of get an idea what we think those will go for. Tika says the 1959 Les Paul and a Dumble amp, $250,000 worth these days. Yeah, these some of these guitars are insane. What they go for. Tika's Bloss played on Dr. Kill drums. That was Sabotage drummer nickname. Yeah, he had to go in and pull off this Sabotage stuff. You're playing Tiki Bar with the project this Saturday? Yes, I am. Are you going to be there? It would be super cool if you were. Duff's Drama. I don't even know if I've seen you at the Hangouts. Welcome. Yeah, I'm going to be down there from probably around. I got sound check at 6. I don't know. We probably play at like 8 or 8. I'm going to say 8 so you don't miss it, but it might be closer to 9 before we play. I'm not sure. But I'll be down there hanging out the whole time anyway. So if you're in the hood, come hang out and say hey. Oh, you think the band you're playing guitar for is open? Good. You're playing the show. What's your band called, brother? Let me know. I'll pump you up right now. Tell me where to go. Check you out. Is Sam still teching for Bloss? No, he's teching for Cinderella. I mean, he was. I mean, they just had some shows canceled. I just heard from Sam like 2 days ago. They were somewhere that we had been with Pearcy, and he was like telling me about it. He's a good dude, Sam. But no, he's not teching for Bloss anymore. And Logan's not teching for DeMartini anymore, but he's doing something even better. Logan is playing with us when Joel's off on the TSO. So any shows that we get November, December, you'll see Logan Stoliker out there too. So everybody wins. Johnny Ponder asked Matt to do his Wendy Dio impersonation. Well, I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if it is pretty good though. I know which impression you're talking about. Chad Moore, what's up, Eric? Nobody Rides for Free is probably the last great RATT song. It was. And I just like the vibe. They didn't write that song, believe it or not. RATT did not write Nobody Rides for Free. It was like at that point they were kind of bringing in a couple like songwriters into it, and I mean they played their stuff. I mean Warren wrote his solos over it, and I'm sure Stephen kind of changed a few things around himself. When he tells the story, I'd have to ask him, but I'm pretty sure he said the guy that did it didn't like how RATT recorded it. Like he was bummed out how it came out or something. And I think it is available. Like I think you can hear how the guy's version of Nobody Rides for Free. Like it might be on YouTube, the original guy that wrote the song. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like a kind of more country. It was like meant to be more of a country song, and they ended up giving it to RATT and they rocked it up. I love it. We play it today. I enjoy playing Nobody Rides for Free live. And I think people like it. Chad Moore's also saying that Mother Love Bone's music aged better than most of their peers. Yeah, it was good times. I have good memories of that stuff. Yeah, Skid Row and Eric G need to reunite. Yeah, I don't know what's holding that up. Is it business? What do you guys think? I don't know. Oh, right. Yeah, it is. It's not Saturday. It's Friday. Yes, Friday will be the big show. I guess I will be seeing you there, brother. Well, I hope you have a great gig. I'll be watching you. I'll check it out, and I'll talk about it. You and me could be back here next Wednesday, and we'll have a recap of the project concert. Good stuff. You're playing guitar for Selena and the Embers. Awesome. Okay, so you heard it here, guys. Go check out Selena and the Embers. I'm sure you guys probably got some kind of page for yourselves on Facebook, Instagram, hopefully YouTube, right? So we could check out some music. And that's the band you're going to see opening for the project this Friday. So come on down. All right. Well, pretty good hang tonight, everybody. Thank you very much for being here as per the usual. And yeah, see you guys Friday. I'll be back Tuesday with Dahlia Dark for another Fright Bite, and then back here Wednesday for another Unleashed. And maybe I'll do a road deal for this project show, since I'll have some time hanging out there. I might as well, right? Would you guys want to see that? I did one when I did the Pump 5 thing. I could do one for the project. Maybe I will, because it's been a minute since I've done some diaries. Until then, be cool and be kind to each other.